This thing revealed in the previous chapter was that sequence 8 of Arbiter is called Sheriff. I want to be a sheriff. I think it fits me. You can't look bad no matter what you do. That's crazy. That's actually glazing super hard. Okay, chapter 134. If the music is too loud, let me know. Too quiet, let me know. We're gonna change the music actually. Too much lyrics. Too much lyrics. Some cool chapters soon. Every chapter is a good chapter. The ones I'm most excited for, by the way, is Volume 2. And the stuff with Force is way too epic. Wait, let me cook. Let me think for a second. Let me check the playlist on Discord. Call music. Ooh, Silk Song. Wait. New GIF already? What's the GIF? I was looking for the undo GIF on Discord. It disappeared from the GIFs. I'm just gonna show you. Stream chat. Yeah, this one. Oh. Okay. But if I type in undo, the punching one disappeared. Anyone know where the punching one is? I'm gonna hold your hand, observer. Yeah, the punching one is not there anymore. Ah! Never mind. This is it. Sorry. I was like third one earlier. This was when Swain was fighting with quote-unquote Havre. When Havre lost control, right? I mean, Havre wasn't named in the novel, I think. But in the donghua, it was Havre. And then when Swain was wrestling him, I was like... He was throwing punches, like... left, right, and center, you know? That's why I was punching. Anyway. What's up, Constantine? I was punching... Yeah, I was punching this hard. Just reading. I hope to see more of Sheriff. Potion. I want... what was her name again? Jo? I want her to advance to Sheriff. It'll be so cool. I don't know why. Sheriff is Aura. It's been more than a minute. Captain, that's the exact question I want you to ask. I know that seriously. Let's see the context 1 second. Oh, Divination Club and then... yeah. About the Sun Emblem, and we're going to investigate the place where I'm guessing Egger's Ozik's sun skull is gonna be. Really, Zach? Are you in my Discord? That will be amazing. If you're in my Discord, that will be amazing. I wanna read that. Aindu is hotter than Ankh. I am Ankh. Captain, that's the exact question I wanted to ask. Klein nodded seriously. I feel even better. I even believe that I can pass the Holy Cathedral examination right now. It's kind of feeling that and confidence that can't be described with words. Realizing that his answer could be a little vague, he couldn't help but add, perhaps the name of a potion is really crucial. When I strictly followed the seer principles that I derived and acted as a fortune teller, everything became perfect and easy. Yes, I can now activate my spirit vision with an even more inconspicuous manner. First of all, I think Klein is gonna regret... I mean, we know he's gonna regret telling the acting method for Dunn, because Dunn is gonna haunt you, Klein. Okay, Peach, that's kind of weird. Dunn creased his eyebrows slightly as the light in his eyes converged. He muttered seemingly, deep in thought, the name of the potion. After about 10 seconds he looked at Klein again. Do you need to return and inform your family? Sunday is the second day after your duty at Chinese Gate. You're supposed to get some rest. Okay. So he changed the topic. Okay. Taking into consideration the fact that Elizabeth was a good friend of his sister and that he had promised that the problem would be solved within a week, Klein answered without hesitation. We don't have to waste time. After we set off, just get the carriage to take a turn by Daffodil Street. Alright, get Fry while I fill out the application form to get sealed artifact 30782, also known as the Sun emblem. Dunn pointed at the break room diagonally opposite. And are we going to start volume 4? Too early for that? Thanks for the Patreon, you're welcome, dude. Fry was a corpse collector, so he didn't possess the abundant energy of a sleepless. If he was free, he could take a nap. Filing in the application form yourself, approving it yourself, and collecting it yourself. Captain, our management system is quite flawed. Yeah, you need like a system going. Klein lampooned silently before he retrieved his hat and exited Dunn's office to knock out the door diagonally opposite. After Klein knocked twice, Fry opened the door and looked at Klein with undisguised puzzlement. What's the matter? As he was taking a nap, his hair was messy and his shirt was untidy. His cold and gloomy temperament faded quite a bit. However, he still looked like a dead person that climbed out of his coffin. That's crazy. Klein hid his smile and answered seriously. There's a case that involves wraiths. The captain wishes for your assistance. Okay. Fry lifted his hand subconsciously to smooth out his messy hair, returning him to the cold person that kept the living at bay. After it dressed up, the two of them waited by the sofa in the reception hall. The surroundings warmed up after another 7 or 8 minutes, as though the area was being exposed to sunlight. So, I was thinking about this. I know this is like off topic right now, but Outer is really buddy-buddy with, first of all, Clint, and also with Force and Shaw. So, I want all 3 of them to join the club, the Tarot Club. Because Audrey was the one that's put up the idea of new members, and I feel like Audrey is gonna try to recruit them. So we're gonna have whatever sequence Force is, which was Apprentice, I think, and we also will have Arbiter. And Clint wanted the Apothecary potion, right? Another person I see for the Apothecary is the guy who owned the store. Remember him? Maybe he's not gonna be a member if Klein runs into him somehow. Clint in the Tarot Club. Like, the voice I do for Clint, I think... I don't know, people say I'm wrong, but I imagine him like a nerd and like a... Actually, when you come here, I'll train... Like that, right? But I think people, like, perceive him as like a hot guy. Even though when he's around Audrey, he gets really nervous, you know? With anxiety a little bit. Hot guys can have anxiety, of course. Anyway, next page. Where am I? After it dressed up, the two of them waited by the sofa in the reception hall. The surroundings warmed up after another 7 or 8 minutes, as though the area was being exposed to sunlight. Immediately following that, they saw Dunn Smith walk through the partition while he held in his hand an ancient badge, about half the size of a palm. The badge had a dark, cold luster and was engraved with the symbolic signs of the sun and lines that extended to the edge. It was sealed artifact 30782 from the Intis Republic, originally named the Mutated Sun Sacred Emblem. The Intis Republic was the country that Roselle transformed from an empire into a republic. What's going on? And was located on the west coast of the northern continent. In order, its border with Loan Kingdom included landmarks like Meadsea Shires, the Hornatsis mountain range, and so on. Meadsea Shires, okay. Since the establishment of Intis as a nation, the Church of Eternal Blazing Sun had repressed the Church of the God of Craftsmanship. Repressed? Okay. Which had become known as the Church of the God of Steam and Machinery, with it being the main religion of the country. The country could also be referred to as Kingdom of the Sun. Really? Okay. Let's set off. Fry, you'll drive. Caesar can't withstand the purification of the sacred emblem for too long. Don reminded them calmly. Oh, because he's not a beyonder. Caesar Francis was a clerk who was in charge of purchasing and collecting supplies. He was also their driver, but he was just an ordinary person. He could stay more than an hour within a 15-meter range of sealed artifact 30782. The journey from Suitland Street to Lamut Town, according to Klein's understanding, would require at least 2.5 hours. That didn't include time to detour to Daffodil Street. Alright, Fry didn't object, but checked if he had his personal items with him. Is this the time where Melissa and Benson will see Klein's gun? What's up, you? How are you doing? I'm doing good. When the rays of the setting sun died, the pinnacle of the town's cathedral, the Nighthawk's carriage finally arrived at Lamut Town. Wait, what? Oh, so... Okay. Not right now, I guess. When the rays of the setting sun died, the pinnacle of the town's cathedral, the Nighthawk's carriage finally arrived at Lamut Town. The town was located at the northwest edge of Tingen. Many buildings still had the unique characteristics of the era before the Age of Steam. There were nearly 0 factories, and the nearby villages engaged in commercial draining. After they stopped the carriage, Tan looked at the hair salon opposite and said, I asked one of the locals earlier. It only requires a 15-minute walk from here. The castle ruins on the mountain. It said that it belonged to a feudal lord who ruled during the 4th epoch. Ooh, Asik! However, or Asik's son, also, I guess, after Asik. However, no one knows what happened after that. Of course, their description is merely a local myth. So, that means Asik is at least 1,000 years old, because 4th epoch? Yes, let's go now and deal with that wraith before the sky turns dark. Then we can take turns to watch over 30782 and keep it away from commoners. From the moment Tan retrieved the mutated sun emblem, 3 hours had already passed. It was getting closer and closer to a beyonders limit. In no time, they would have to part ways and give each other time to recover. Okay, Fry gave a succinct reply. I have no problem with that. About that, Klein touched the somber charms and the requiem charms in his pocket. Envoy! Making it to every single stream, by the way. Hello, Kin. Novel is off-centered. You're the goat. You're the absolute goat, by the way. Thank you for letting me know. We are in 1349, so Asik's at least 1349 years old, right? I would guess Asik's around like 2,000 years old or 1.5k maybe. Depends if it was around the end of 5th epoch, 4th epoch or not. Admire your dedication. Yeah, I think Heavenly Envoy is really dedicated. Anyway. Okay, Fry gave a succinct reply. I have no problem with about that. Klein touched the somber charms and requiem charms in his pocket. The 3 Nighthawks in thin black trench coats walked through the streets in town, headed toward the mountain when they reached a fork in the road. Along the way, the road was overgrown with weeds and clustered with shrubs, but it was still spacious enough to let the 2 carriages pass side by side. It wasn't long until they saw a collapsed under a wall of ancient castle. A collapsed outer wall on an ancient castle. Okay, on the outer wall that was still standing there were green plants crawling all over it, while the exposed part was muddied, so ruins basically. What's up, Poplin? When they started to get close, Klein could feel a piercing chill as goosebumps formed all over his arms. There really is a wraith. There really is a wraith, Fry said monotonously as he looked at the ancient castle. Dan looked sideways to steal a glance at the newly promoted Nighthawk. Then he laughed and said, Don't worry, we have both 30782 and Fry. The wraith won't cause too much of a problem. He held his custom-made revolver in one hand and the mutated Son of Sacred emblem in the other. He took the first step towards the ancient castle that looks like a ruin. Klein followed closely behind, prepared to pull the trigger at any time, swing his cane or use his charms. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. When Tan was less than 5 meters away from the ancient castle, where a broken horse stable, water well, and other fixtures were reflected in Klein's eyes, a cold breeze howled in a way that could only be described as sad and shrill. Aw, it seemed to be rejecting the uninvited guests. The 3 Nighthawks didn't stop. The warm and pure feeling gradually dispersed the chill and conquered the front of the ancient castle. They scaled the pile of rocks, passing through the collapsed outer wall before slowly entering the castle, which had lost its main entrance and was filled with broken tiles. Can I actually just... Yeah, I can. There's no problem. The hall of the ancient castle was full of collapsed stone pillars and was covered with moss. Ooh, I'm imagining it right now. I'm trying to not imagine the donghua one, even though the donghua one is pretty accurate, but I'm just like... So I can like... practice my imagination because it's my first like web novel. But the windows were narrow and placed high on the walls, hence the lighting was poor. It looked dim and gloomy inside. It's also a trait of buildings from the end of the fourth epoch, and the beginning of the fifth epoch. Klein, who was a historian, instinctively made a judgment and activated his spirit vision. Doesn't mean that this place is this place was built on the late fourth epoch. It might have been like refurnished or something. Donghua was visually perfect. Okay. Just then an illusory. Yeah, I mean from the description. Yeah, I feel like in the Donghua it was like a more red like tint to it, maybe. Just then an illusory yet piercing roar suddenly burst out like "Whoa." Suddenly from out of nowhere a thick cloud of black fog filled the air, resisting the infiltration of warmth and purity. A tall figure suddenly surfaced amidst the black fog. He wore a full body black armor and carried a broadsword that a commoner would have found difficult to lift. The wraith looked identical to the one Klein saw in Elizabeth's dream. Two flame-like balls of red light shone through the cap of his helmet, appearing cold, but they were staring at the three Nighthawks angrily. Oof, that's actually scary, dude. You have disturbed my slumber. You will have to pay with your flesh and blood. He suddenly launched himself toward and instantly shortened the distance to Tan. He suddenly slashed downwards with his broadsword. Tan retreated swiftly and lifted his hand to fire his revolver. Clang! The silver demon hunting bullet didn't manage to penetrate the illusory black armor and only produced a crisp but unrealistic sound. Klein and Frey retreated to the side simultaneously. One held a gun in one hand and then with two balls of fire that looked at the place of the black armored knight's eyes. Before pulling the trigger, the other Nighthawk transformed his eyes into a tranquil, glorious white and focused on the wrath. The black armored knight roared in anger again, like "Ugh." He took another huge stride towards Tan and swung the broadsword horizontally. Bam! The broadsword didn't hurt Tan, but it knocked him away, causing him to land heavily to the side of the door. It left him spewing a mouthful of fresh blood. No, Tan! With a loud thud, 30782 dropped on the ground. Since it was wearing a metal boot, the wraith eagerly kicked with its right leg and sent a dangerous badge of the ancient castle door. It was distance beyond 15 meters from it. Klein, who hadn't managed to shoot the wraith successfully, became nervous and puzzled when he saw that scene. It was as though he was overlooking the transformation before his eyes from a calm and rational position. Bang! He fired another bullet. The silver demon hunting bullet hit the wraith's helmet and produced sparks, but there was no obvious damage. White Countlet! Fry shouted. He was always cold and gloomy, but now his tone was filled with anxiety. No sooner had he finished talking, he lifted his revolver, as well as aimed at the wraith's right middle countlet. Brum! Brum! Klein shot subconsciously, according to Fry's instruction, firing silver demon hunting bullets almost simultaneously with him. This time the wraith didn't lock it in the armor, but raised his broadsword and struck the two bullets away. Oh my god, aura! He took a stride and charged at Klein, colliding with him directly. As Klein flew out, he saw his chest cave in, saw himself bleeding blood, but he didn't feel uncomfortable, not one bit. Oh, because dream, right? Suddenly snapped out of his daze, fell on ground, rolled about and screamed. Suddenly the ancient castle, the wraith, the collapsed pillars and the moss floor shattered. Everything turned to black fog in the air, just like when the black armored knight first appeared. The only difference was that Tan held both of his fists tightly, bowed slightly, and his grey eyes were dark and deep. As expected. Yes, we are early. There's an announcement on the thing. As expected, everything was just a dream. Captain pulled the wraith Rye and I into his dream at the same time, but I'm special, and I can remain clear-headed and rational. Klein realized that he was still standing 2 meters away. To Don's right, he hadn't vomited any blood or screamed. Don called. Just then Don stood up straight and looked at the wraith that was going to slash him with his sword. He said calmly, it's been more than a minute. The wraith was stunned and let out a shrill cry, like Rah! Its body started producing black steam, as though it had just received its death sentence. Any zombies or spirits that had yet to turn into evil spirits couldn't stay within the 15-meter range of the muted sun emblem for more than a minute. Oof. Holy shit, Captain, you're so cool! Klein looked at the scene from the side and nearly let out a cheer. Don had used his stream ability to attack the wraith on his own turf, but merely drag out the dime. Oh, yeah, I remember, that was so fucking cool. I knew you could be a professional dinosaur. I'm trying to do sound effects, man. I'm trying to get you guys the best experience. In the warm and pure feeling, the black steam evaporated quickly and the chill dispersed gradually. In no time, the night became transparent and blended into the void. Clank. A black continent fell to the ground, its surface covered in with white rust. Oh, I can imagine in my head, yeah. When I was about to ask for the captain's go-ahead to pick up the drop, but when he looked over, his spirituality was suddenly disturbed. Somewhere near the stairs that separate the hall and dining hall, there was an intense yet illusory misery and uncleanliness summoning him. Yeah. Wow. Okay. I mean, I remember this episode really well from the donghua, right? It was episode, I think, 7. Correct me if I'm wrong. The beginning part of the fight. And I knew there was a dream in the beginning when Don Smith was buying time for the emblem to activate, right? I low-key love how descriptive it was, and people also pointed out in the chat that the donghua did an amazing job 1-to-1, and yeah, I remember that. I just remember for some reason like a reddish tint, but I might be like tripping. Maybe that was because of the dream, maybe because of Don. Okay, let's see. We're gonna discover its remains now underground. Portrait of a Baron. Baron is a title, by the way. Actually. Let's go. 135. Thank you for the subscription, by the way. Martinez. I see you. I thought Baron was a boss in League of Legends before I knew it was a title. I'm just saying. Can you watch the scene? I can't on YouTube. The stream is gonna get auto-detected. Maybe on my other screen without showing it. Portrait of a Baron. Yeah, I like this fight a lot in the donghua. The one against Sirius in front of the library was better in the novel though. If you wanna compare the two, right? Portrait of a Baron. There's some no problem here, Klein said it with a serious tone, pointing at the steps separating the living room and dining room. He once read in Nighthawk's confidential records that if similar situations appeared in one's spiritual perception, it usually implied that there was something evil and corrupted hidden at the target location. It was best not to interact with it. One wasn't confident. Otherwise, one might lose their life. Sometimes even a mere glance could result in irreversible damage. Don looked over and similarly with his high spiritual perception immediately sensed something wrong. He turned to look at Klein and instructed calmly, "Divide and see if we could be successful in our investigation." Captain didn't get to divine before we entered the castle. He was rather confident. That means that he believes that the hidden thing might be more dangerous than the wraith. Klein nodded in the silence. He holstered his revolver and handed his cane to Fry. He then released the dopus bracelet within his sleeve, held a silver chain with his left hand, and silently recited a suitable statement. Instantly, his eyes darkened as a breeze started spiraling around him. The investigation of hidden place in the ancient castle would be successful. The investigation of hidden place in the ancient castle would be successful. After reciting the statement 7 times, Klein's eyes regained their normal color. He saw the dangling topaz rotating clockwise. It wasn't very obvious, but it was unmistakably rotating clockwise. That meant that the investigation would be successful. Klein, who was already true seer, immediately nodded the Tan and Fry. The danger will be manageable by us, or there will be no danger at all. Tan pinned the muted sun emblem to the left side of the chest, then pressed down on his hat. He briskly walked towards the step and expertly started searching for a mechanism. Rai, who had picked up the gauntlet, handed Klein's cane back to him. He grabbed his revolver and cautiously scanned the surroundings, as if he was afraid that enemy would suddenly appear. I'm still not professional enough as a Nighthawk. Klein geared himself and took out his revolver and turned alert as well. A few minutes later, it was unknown that what the kneeling Tan Smith triggered as heavy sputtering sounds emanated from the staircase. Okay. Floor split open, revealing a set of steps heading down. Cold and corrupted vibe emanated, seemingly condescending into something corporeal. Tan glanced over and removed sealed artifact 30782 from his chest. He tossed it directly into the trapdoor. After a few clanks, like clang, 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 it was unknown where the muted sun emblem stopped. If there are dead spirits within, they will definitely toss 30782 back out, true. That will be interesting. Klein stared at the stairs and waited patiently. I love Klein thoughts, inner thoughts. The lingering, sinister, and corrupted feeling soon dissolved away like a snow meeting the sun. Like the snow meeting the sun. Warmness and purity blanketed the entrance of the trapdoor. Klein, go down with me. Fry will stay here and prevent other enemies from destroying the mechanism. Tan made an experienced decision. Alright, Klein didn't shrink back from the task. He took 2 steps forward and arrived next to Tan. Fry nodded, not letting his guard down. Tan went down first, his footsteps reverberating in the silence. He didn't prepare any sources of light. For a beyonder that went down the sleepless pathway, darkness was not an obstacle, but a blessing. Their visions wasn't hindered by such an environment. After taking a few steps down, Tan suddenly turned around and looked at Klein. I forgot that you have night vision. I'm not used to preparing objects and provide illumination. Classic, by the way. Also night vision, yeah. Captain, you need to mind about me. I have my spirit vision. Klein realized that he wasn't shocked at all. That cool captain from before was indeed not normal. I love how Klein was like, awesome! Oh my god, that was so awesome, I love that. In his spirit vision, the darkness before him was screened by a grey film. Even though it was very blurry, it was enough for him to make out where the steps were. Well, the captain sure is healthy, and the smell said is fine too. Klein carefully extended his feet and made his way down slowly. The flight of steps wasn't long, it only took about 15 steps to reach the ground. Aren't you banging people? Sealed artifact 3082 was lying there, releasing its purity and warmth, also radiated a faint glow. Klein could see much more clearly with the help of the illumination. He surveyed the surroundings and noticed that it wasn't a huge basement. It was no longer cold and sinister, but the dampness remained. In the middle of the basement was a black coffin, with dark red nails driven into the lid. The lid of the coffin had been pushed open slightly, allowing one to see a headless corpse. Ooh, that was all bone. So that's Dengo Eggers. I'm saying his name wrong, right? Not Dengo. What the fuck is a Dengo? Something Eggers. Dan looked around and bent over to pick up the muted sun's sacred emblem. Captain, this coffin, it was intended to prevent the dead within the room from becoming a zombie or wraith. Denno, exactly. Why did I add a random G? Klein looked at the dark red nails in the coffin and the formation they were in. He used his decent mysticism knowledge to determine that this way was an ancient ritual to prevent the corpse from reanimating. At the same time, he muttered inwardly, but under normal circumstances, who would have noticed better? Who would have nothing better to do than guard against their loved one from reanimating? The people who helped bury the corpse must not be family. And if they placed the coffin in the basement in the tomb, they must have been afraid of someone fighting the corpse. Who would have nothing better to do than guard against the loved one from reanimating? The people who helped bury the corpse must not be family. Dunn, who had worn sealed artifact 30782, again approached the coffin and inspected it. The deceased was probably poisoned to death. That means the person who poisoned him must have used ritualistic magic to prevent him from renovating and seeking revenge. This should have happened about 1300 years ago. The beginning of the 5th epoch? He became a wraith in the end. The resentment of the spirit is simply shocking. And also walked in front of the coffin. Where is its head? Ritual does not call for the head to be sliced off. Dunn thought for a moment before saying, I have a deduction. This wraith didn't exist all the time. It only appeared recently. It's only a 15-minute walk from the town, the castle. Through the years, the troublemakers must have frequented this place. Before this incident, there were no rumors of there being a wraith in this ancient castle. So, Lana was taking his head, basically triggered it becoming a wraith. So that makes sense because he did it quite recently, right? Like 3 months ago or something. Remember when we saw the ritual with Mekus? It said 2 months ago, or did it say 3 months ago? Captain, what do you mean to say it's someone came here recently, opened the coffin and took away the head of the deceased? Yes, the ritual prevents the corpse from reanimating, but it also seals and preserves its resentment within the coffin. When the coffin was opened and the ritual dispelled, this resentment quickly involved... Who poisoned Tenno? Evolving the wraith with the help of its... I wonder if it's someone we know, or someone from before the 5th epoch when the Abraham and Antigonus family were still around. Maybe some from there, I'm guessing. Head, skull, same thing, yeah. There's no corpse of the person who opened the coffin. So he's not an ordinary person. Besides, why did they take away the head of the deceased? The person who opened the coffin is a swindler. Tan stared at the skeleton in the coffin. Were sent meant to be preserved for such a long time, there should be some reason other than the ritual. He could have been a Beyonder when he was alive, perhaps the descent of 1 or 2 generations removed of a meat sequence Beyonder. I'm talking about the meat sequences as defined in the past sequence 5 or 6. And such corpses are always special. His head might be usable in some kind of ritual or in some other occasion. Don't paused before continuing. What I said just now was all conjecture, but we can try to verify some of it. We can split up later in town and investigate to see if anyone was injured before in their youth. Well, if they are still alive, it will prove that the wraith only appeared recently. A logical train of thought, Klein praised. He quickly searched the basement but didn't find anything else. He tried using ritualistic magic to make the sketch of the guest that entered the basement, but because it had been more than a month, yeah, there we go, more than a month, as well as the disturbed environment to the frequent appearance of the wraith, there wasn't much of a result. He then took Fry's place, allowing the expert on the dead to conduct further tests. 15 minutes later, as the sun was vanishing below the horizon, Dunn and Fry followed the steps and returned to the hall of the ancient palace. Dunn felt the switch for the trapdoor while Fry gave a short description. The deceased was indeed poisoned to death. The bruises near the neck appeared recently, at the very most 3 months back. Ooh. This means it is highly probable that someone came here before, Klein nodded in thought. The 3 Nighthawks returned to Lamud before it got dark and asked for 2 rooms at the inn. The member that got the seal artifact 30782 was to take this danger item for a stroll outside the town where no one would be. They would change their shifts once every 2 hours and thus need 2 rooms. Okay, what if like 15-meter radius, right? You can be pretty, I guess, close to the town then. After a simple dinner, Klein, Dunn, and Fry immediately split up and covered all corners of the town, asking the residents who had lived in this town for extended periods of time. In situations like this, their ID documents as policemen proved useful. Yep. Officer, why are you asking this? I used to head to the abandoned castle to play when I was young, injured. Injured? Definitely. How could a child not have fallen while playing? I remember, yes. I've been cut by a sharp rock on the outer walls of the ancient castle in the past. A 40-year-old blonde man looked puzzledly at Klein, but answered his questions honestly. This was the 14th person Klein had asked, of which 2 vividly remembered being injured in the castle when they were young. Yeah, but injured because of, like, falling over. The captain's deduction is correct. Klein decided to put away his ID documents, his man, and said, "Thank you for your cooperation. I have no more questions." But to leave when the 40-year-old man called after him. "Officer, are you interested in the ancient castle? I have oil painting for the first Baron." They resided in there. He was the grandfather of my grandfather of my grandfather. Ooh, Osik's relative! Well, anyway, long time ago, he took away an oil painting from the castle and told me that it was the oil painting of the first Baron Lamoud. Do you want it? It's too antique. Let me put the music a little bit lower. I think it's too loud. It was a true antique. Your family would have sold it a long time ago. This guy sure is gutsy, daring to fool even the police. Would I scare him away with my gun? Klein lampooned and adopted the attitude of a window shopper, and said, no, who knows if it's real, antique or not. I'll trust my own judgment. Take it out and let's see it. The blonde man smiled and returned to the room and rummaged for it. Sometime later he walked off with the oil painting in hand. Klein casually looked at the oil painting. He saw the Baron had gentle features and bronze skin, his eyes hiding indescribable range of human experience. He was old back then! Holy shit, he was also wearing a white curly wig. Oh, he looks like a lot like Mr. Osik. Klein's eyes suddenly opened wide, his gaze subsequently falling below the right ear of the Baron. He then looked at the unremarkable mole near the ear. The position of the mole was exactly the same as Mr. Osik's mole. Damn! Yeah, it was oil something, and this person cared for it, right? Mole carried, yeah. I mean, if it wasn't like a noticeable mole or something, would have been just, oh, it's a coincidence, or like that it looks like Osik. But the mole confirms it, right? How many people have mole in the same spot? It's like impossible, right? Maybe very rare cases. Anyway, so Klein learning about Mr. Osik being ancient. He is immortal Unk. Osik is, I'm not sure if it's immortality, but he has a very long lifespan. I also think other high sequence Yonders also have a really high lifespan, but I think the corpse collector pathway is more so, right? Because maybe you basically live as a corpse, you know? Keep living. Do not have a mole in your hand. I have one. I don't know if you can see that. I have one, two. Oh, these are birthmarks, they're not moles. I don't know what the fuck moles are. Black, right? These are brown. Wow, okay, cool. Ancient. Osik is ancient. How ancient? He might have been ancient back then when the painting was taken. We don't really know, do we? Yep, 106. Bro, your mustache? Yeah, what about it? Do you like it? Honestly, tell me. The stumped Klein. This can't be right. How will Mr. Osik be the first in the so-called line of barons? Baron Lamoud is a figure who lived 14 or 1500 years ago. No way! How can I be sure that the person in the portrait is the first Baron Lamoud? Klein looked at the oil Roselle mustache. Yeah, sure. Klein looked at the oil painting, his mind buzzing in confusion. It was like everyone around him had become monsters or a dream where the entire world was filled with gods. He looked up and stared at the blonde middle-aged man. Ooh, what if Osik is a god? What if Osik is a god among men? What if Osik is death? Right? But what if Osik doesn't even know he's death? Right? Oh my god, that would be crazy. What's up, Enner? How are you doing? Send a picture, XS fan. Please. He looked up and stared at the blonde middle-aged man. He extended his hand to grab his revolver from his underarm holster and said in a deep voice, "This is not an antique. If you won't clarify the situation, I will arrest you and charge you with fraud." He didn't care if prosecution fell under the police department. His only goal was to threaten the man to get information. Damn, Klein! At the same time, Klein clicked his left molar twice to activate spirit vision. He can do that now. Then he looked at his target emotional and color changes. The blonde... So a light detector, basically. Is it only me or is it lagging? Can chat let know if you're lagging also, please? The blonde man jumped in fright and said in panicked, muffled voice, "No, I'm not sure if it's an antique either. No, I heard that it's antique, but I don't know much about such things. I really have no idea. I don't even know many words. Yeah, words." Bro is panicking. His eyes darted around anxiously, seemingly about to cry for help. It doesn't show that I'm lying either. I think it's only you. I'm sorry though, Adam. Adam's the guy. Welcome, by the way. Just when he saw Klein adjust his revolver cylinder and hammer, he looked as though he was going to shoot suspect and resisted. Suddenly he stood straight and stopped looking around. "Where did you get oil painting?" Klein asked heavily. The blonde man's lips quivered as he said with a warning smile, "Officer, this one my grandfather found in the ancient castle more than 40... So you're not related. More than 40 years ago, another wall at the room on the second floor collapsed, revealing these items people couldn't find the best. One of them was the oil painting. No, not this oil painting. This original oil painting was torn and couldn't be preserved. So my grandfather found someone to make a copy of the painting. The one you just saw now, I didn't lie to you. An oil painting from 40 years ago could really be considered as antique." Oh my god, dude. "Are you sure that this is the portrait of the first Baron Lamouth?" Klein stroked the trigger and made sure the man case didn't move an inch. The blonde man chuckled and said, "I'm not sure, but I'm guessing so." "Reason?" Klein nearly laughed at the man's shamelessness. "Because there wasn't any labels on the oil painting." The blonde man replied seriously for once, just like I'm called the Sandra Grey. My mother is called curly-haired Grey, and only my grandfather was the real Grey." Klein exhaled silently and asked, "Where's your grandfather?" "In the cemetery." God. Bro, he's 40 years old, Klein. "He's been buried there for almost 2 decades. Next to him is my father, who was buried 3 years back." The blonde man answered honestly, and Klein asked a few questions from different angles. He adjusted the cylinder in front of the blonde man and put it back in his undermount holster. Holy shit. I can't laugh. My mom is kinda... You know the speed meme? My mom is kinda homeless. I wanna have like that moment where something is funny but I shouldn't laugh. Like, I wanna be like that, like genuinely. You know? I hope that happens someday. It will be cinema. Anyway, he put away his police ID and turned around in his black trench coat before walking towards the model with his hands stuffed into his pockets. He walked quietly along the street underneath the dim light that was shining out from the houses that lined both sides of the street. "I can't confirm if the portrait is that of the first Baron Lamouth. I wonder if the town has the exact historical records of the ancient castle. Regardless, the man... I mean, the oldest source of information are like pubs and inns, right? Like, there's like inns that are like 1,000 years old in the UK at least, right? Obviously different worlds, so different circumstances, but maybe there? Regardless, the man in the portrait must be a person from the past, at least 1,000 years ago. Besides the hair, he looks almost identical to Mr. Ozick. Is this what we call reincarnation? Ooh, good theory, Klein. Back when Mr. Ozick gave up his position in other universities in Backland and came to Tingen, perhaps it was driven by instinct. There's another possibility, such as the man in the portrait, Mr. Ozick, and Mr. Ozick is him. Mr. Ozick is him! Having thought of this, Klein felt a jolt. He nearby stumbled on the steps ahead. He paced back and forth around the damaged gas street lamp and tried to incorporate his knowledge from the world of information overload. According to his earlier guesses, he made a further inference. Mr. Ozick might have become immortal due to some reasons, such as being a vampire. Could that be why he survived for so long? That's not right. When was there ever been a bronze-skinned vampire? That's crazy. I mean, vampires are like pale, right? Plus, when I shook hands with Mr. Ozick, I could clearly feel his body temperature and the fresh blood that flows within him. Although he dislikes the heat of the south, he isn't afraid of the sun. He once competed in a rowing competition with other teachers under the hot sun. There's another possibility. Mr. Ozick's sequence potion or some other factors bestowed him with a long life, and the price for it is memory loss. Man, taking into consideration his various dreams, can I presume that he loses his memory as part of a cycle? Every few decades, he forgets his past and gains new life. Then his dreams are the lives that he has lived before. I think I read something like that before in a novel. Yeah, sounds like a novel. I mean, Klein quickly figured it out, but like, I wonder if other sequences have the same issue when you become a high sequence beyonder, like sequence 3 to whatever ASIC is, maybe 4, unless ASIC is sequence 1 and he's like godlike figure but doesn't know it. I wonder if same way if you go up in the sleepless pathway, because right now Tan is already forgetting, but that's for a different reason, because of nightmare, where dreams and reality become very foggy for him, right? So maybe not. Klein started leaning towards his leather. Against his rely on divination to verify this. I have to look for the traces of the lives that Mr. Asik lived, traces of him not having a childhood, but starting directly as an adult. Klein started leaning towards his Flederkes. However, he temporarily couldn't eliminate the possibility of reincarnation. He reined in his chaotic thoughts and considered carefully whether he should inform Captain Dunn about it. If Mr. Asik was a beyonder that lived 1,000 years, his ability would be much stronger than I imagined. Asik is a cultivator. I'm joking. He advised me out of kindness. However, it will be hard to say if we will remain kind when I find clues about his past. But Mr. Asik has been nice to me all this time. To involve the Nighthawks will result in a non-trivial possibility of harming him. Ugh, looks like I must divine this matter in the world above the grey fog. This is the most proper choice for a seer. Klein made the decision and returned to the hotel quickly. Since Stein and Fry had yet to return, he seized the opportunity to get another room at the cost of 1 solly. Dude, 1 solly. Klein will be mad over that expenditure. I guess it's needed for the Grey Folk divination, right? After he entered the room, Klein made a spirituality wall within the assistance of holy night powder. Then he took out 4 steps counterclockwise, went through the mad ravings, and arrived above the Grey Folk. What are the mad ravings saying? I wanna know. You're not like even like. How does the mad raving sound like? The lofty palace stood tall and silent, while the ancient mottled bronze table and 22 high chairs remained the same. 1 chair for each sequence, by the way. Klein took the seat of honor and made a brown goatskin and black fountain pen appear before him. You can listen, but it's inaudible, you know? I want to get like I want to get some words, you know? I want to get some words, some audible words. He picked up the pen and wrote seriously. I shall tell Don Smith about Mr. Asik. Then he took out a topaz pendant from his left sleeve and did a spirit pendulum divination. Maybe when Klein levels up, good actually. I know you are not a novel reader, so good idea. What's up, Jinghua Shuing? What's up? I butchered your name probably. Then he took the topaz pendant from his left sleeve and did a spirit pendulum divination. The spirit pendulum divination resulted in the pendulum spinning counterclockwise, which meant that he shouldn't tell him. Ooh, okay, interesting. Putting down the topaz pendant, Klein thought about it and decided to make an attempt with dream divination just to be sure. Thus, he changed his divination statement to the result of hiding matters related to Mr. Asik from Nighthawks. Klein held Coatskin, recited the statement 7 times before silently and leaned backwards to enter a deep sleep. He saw himself in the illusory, blurry and distant world. Ooh, this is really interesting by the way. I saw that he was struggling while drowning in a sea of blood. Then there was a hand that extended and pulled him up from the blood of sea. The owner of the hand was Asik, with bronze skin and small mole near his ear. The image shattered and reorganized. Klein saw that he was in a dark and gloomy mausoleum. The surrounding coffins opened one after another. Asik stood next to him, looking forward as though he was looking for something. Just then, I got goosebumps, bro, what the fuck. Just then, Klein exited the dream in an instant and saw the illusory grey and boundless fog. The symbolic meaning of the earlier dream is that if I were to hide the relevant matters about Mr. Asik, I would receive his assistance when I'm in danger in the future. Heh, the danger might have come about because I helped to keep the secret. What does the last scene mean? I will discover some mausoleum with Mr. Asik. Yes, perhaps the mausoleum has other symbolic meanings. I do think Asik is gonna join the Tarot Club, so I think I think Mr. Asik is the first person in the Tarot Club you know from real life, right? As in like For Audrey and Olger, you don't know them outside of the grey fog. Klein clasped his hands together and supported his chin while he interpreted the contents of the dream divination. Combining it with the earlier result of pendulum divination, he decided to not report this interference to the captain, but merely bring up that Nornsfolk had taken out a portrait of the first Baron Lamont, and the portrait looked like a history teacher in the Coin University. I mean, good. Klein couldn't be sure that Tan wouldn't hear about it elsewhere, so he had to at least mention it. Of course, Tan was unfamiliar with Asik, and he didn't know of his recount and strange dreams, so he would find it difficult to connect them. Klein even suspected that the captain wouldn't quite remember what Asik looked like. I mean, he has interviewed Asik, so yeah. Then he stopped thinking further and planned to leave the world above the grey fog. Just then he noticed the crimson star that had been silent all this time was twinkling with faint... Derrick! This is actually so exciting. This is new stuff. Klein extended his spirituality with interest and saw the young man that spoke Jotun again. He saw him kneeling before a pure crystal ball. The young man was still wearing the black tights that were different from the clothing of countries of northern continent. His facial features were blurry and distorted, but Klein could faintly see his brownish yellow hair. He knelt there and prayed with unusual pain in his tone. Klein leaned sideways to hear. He relied on his beginner-level Jotun and barely understood the young man was saying. "Oh, magnificent deity, please cast your eyes on this land that you have forsaken." Oof. Silver City. Oh my god, I love Derrick, man. Even though I have seen like only one thing about him. Because new Dark Club members are so interesting, man. "Oh, magnificent deity, please allow us, the people of the dark, be freed from the curse of our destiny. I am willing to dedicate my life to you, using my blood to please you. A land that was forsaken, people of the dark, magnificent deity." Klein murmured a few key words and suddenly thought of a place that the hanged man had mentioned once. The forsaken land of God. It appeared in Roselle's diary too. He even set out a fleet to search for it, but it was fruitless. Klein, wasn't it on land? I think when I remember the old Neil class, the map low-key looked like the Asia part, where like China around there was Loan, and then top left was the Forsaken Land. For reference, okay. I meant like so it will be top left, but it will be by land. So you would walk there, not go ships, right? The Forsaken Land of God. It appeared that Roselle's diary. Oh, maybe there is actually water there as well. Okay. So if it's not a real map, I see. It appeared in Roselle's diary too. He even sent out a fleet to search for it, but it was fruitless. Klein squinted his eyes and wondered if he had guessed correctly. He tapped on the edge of the long bronze table with his fingers. After 3 taps, he came to position, extended his right hand, and dodged the illusory crimson star. The loud crimson immediately exploded, and the light flowed in like water. Let's fucking go! Like so soon! So soon! Are we gonna have more Derrick scenes in volume 1? Fuck, I got stuck. I actually got stuck. I'm so excited. Ooh. Wait. What did I do? I went in the beginning of the... Okay, City of Silver. I'm so fucking happy. Oh, 1 second, guys. Oh, I forgot to take my medicine. Maybe set my reminder after stream. Okay, here we go. Don't check Discord during stream. My mom is kinda homeless. I don't know what you meant, but okay. 137, City of Silver. Here we go. City of Silver. Mortuary. What the hell is a mortuary? Fourth third of the chapter, and I have to look it up. My mom's kinda homeless. It's a place for the storage of human bodies. Ugh! Like a morgue. Okay. Derrick stood in front of the flight of stairs as he looked straight ahead with reddened eyes. In front of him were two coffins containing his parents. Oh fuck. I fucking knew it. I called it. Hemmed in a stone plate in front of him was a simple silver sword. The frequent booming of thunder caused the house to shake and the sword to sway. The Burr couple inside the coffins weren't completely dead yet. What? Struggled to keep their eyes open while making weak attempts to heave her hair. In the eyes of some, the luster of their lives would no longer suppress their irreversible darkening. Derrick, do it! The elder, dressed in a long black robe, looked at the youth and said in a deep voice, with a staff in his hand. The expression of youth was visibly contorted. No, no, no! Derrick, who had brownish yellow hair, shook his head repeatedly. Derrick Burke, by the way. He took a step back with every word and initially let out a ear-piercing scream. I can't do the screams, I'm sorry. The elder struck down his staff and said, Do you wish for the city to be buried along with your parents? Why do you have to kill your parents for that? Are they possessed or something? You should know that we are the people of Dark who have been forsaken by God. We can only live in a cursed place like this and the dead will become horrifying evil spirits. Oh, that's why. There's no way to reverse it regardless of what we do, other than ending their lives by hands of family member. Fuck. No, bro. Why? Why? Derrick asked in despair, shaking his head. I can't, man. I'm sad. Why are the citizens of City of Silver destined to kill their parents the moment they are born? What if like parents die and the son is already dead? What then? What if you have no family? The elder closed his eyes as if recalling what he had experienced in the past. Oh, this is our destiny. This is the curse you must bear. This is the will of God. Draw your sword, Derrick. It's a show of respect for your parents. After this, when you have calmed down, you can try becoming a divine blood warrior. Ooh. In the coffin, Burke tried to speak, but he could only let out a groan after his chest heaved several times. Derrick took several steps forward with a great difficulty, returned to the side of the silver sword. He extended his shivering right hand. Man, fuck. His brain registered the cold touch of the metal, causing him to recall the blood ice his father brought back when he went hunting. Blood ice the size of a mere ball was enough to keep his home cool for a few days. Images flashed past his eyes, his stern father teaching sword techniques, his friendly father paddling away the dust on his back, his gentle mother mending his clothes, his brave mother stepping in front of him when they encountered a mutilated monster. Oh. And finally his family huddling in front of a flickering candle and sharing food. Oh man. I'm actually so sad. A faint sound croaked from his throat despite his utmost suppression. The low grunt exerted force with his right hand and drew the sword. He lowered his head and charged forward, raising the sword and driving it down with force. The blood spattered following a pain scream. Blood spattered into Derrick's face and into his eyes. His vision became red. He pulled the sword and pierced it into the coffin by the side. After the sharp metal pierced through the flesh, Derrick released his grip and wavered as he stood up. He didn't look at the condition of the people inside the coffin. Oh. Derrick stumbled as he ran out of the mortuary as if he was being chased by an evil spirit. His fists and teeth were clenched tight. The blood of his face left streaks across his face. The elder, who had taken everything from the side sighed. The most fucked up thing about this is like I am imagining being in a position of being in the position of Derrick, and like, what will it feel like to kill your own parents? You know? Yeah. They didn't look at the condition of the people inside. Yeah. The elder who had taken everything from the side. There were stone pillars that lined the main streets of City of Silver. Atop the stone pillars were lanterns, and within the lanterns were unlit candles. There was no sun in the sky here. Oh, oh, little sun. In the sky here, no moon, no stars, only an unchanging darkness and lightning that threatened to tear apart everything. Citizens of City of Silver walked along the dark streets with the illumination of the lightning. The few hours when the lightning died down was considered by them as a true night, as mentioned in the legends. That was a time where they had to use candles to light up the city, drive away the darkness and make it severe as warning for the monsters. Derrick made his way along the street. He didn't have anywhere he wanted to go, but as he walked, he realized that he had reached the door of his house. He took out his keys and locked the door. He saw the familiar sights, but he couldn't hear his mother's concerned voice or his father's reprimanding him for running about the house was empty and cold. Derrick clenched his teeth again. He walked quickly to his room and searched for the crystal ball. His father had told him that this was a crystal ball used by a long-destroyed city to worship their deity. Interesting how it went to the fool. He knelt and faced the crystal ball, praying without any hope in mind. He pleaded bitterly, "O magnificent deity, please cast your eyes on this land that you have forsaken. O magnificent deity, please allow us this, the people of dark, be freed from the curse of the destiny. I am willing to dedicate my life to you, using my blood to please you." Okay, we are going back, right? Why wasn't this in the donghua? Or at least maybe they're gonna do what it doesn't do or something. Anyway, I fucking feel depressed now, man. So everyone in City of Silver has to kill their parents, or has to kill a family member. Otherwise, when they die, they become like evil spirits. Right? And Derrick had to kill his parents at 14 years old, right? And there's no sun, no stars, nothing, just darkness in this place. So it must be really depressing to live here, right? Also, I think the crystal ball, maybe it's connected to the grey fog. And let's say there were people in the grey fog before Klein. Maybe, you know, my theory is the previous people who got not reincarnated but transmigrated into the world of, you know, where Loen is. Maybe Roselle had access to the grey fog. Maybe the person before Roselle and before that person. All of them maybe were using the grey fog. And that ball is from like that era, from a previous grey fog user. And that's why it's praying to the fool, right? That's what I think. Man. Ah, yeah. That was heavy. Wow. Over and over again, just as he was complete despair and about to stand, he saw her. Oh my god, we're continuing. I thought we were going back because of this, like, thought. I think this is because it's 7 times. Okay, let's keep reading. Over and over again, just as he complete despair and about to stand, he saw a dark red glow burst forth from the pure crystal ball. The glow was flowing water, instantly swallowing Derrick. Ooh, when he regained his senses, he realized that he was standing in a magnificent palace, supported by giant stone pillars. In front of him was a long ancient table, and on the other side of the table was a human figure, obscured by a thick fog. It's the fool! Other than that, there was nothing around him. It was empty and ethereal. Under him was a boundless fog and the incorporeal dark red specks of light. Derrick felt a flame of hope ignited in his heart. He stared at the human figure at the very top, confused and puzzled. "You are God? You are God?" After asking, he suddenly remembered a statement that he read from a book in the City of Silver and quickly lowered his head. The statement was, "Do not look directly at God. Listen, Klein. Klein leaned back and he crossed his hands. He adopted a relaxed posture and answered using the language of the giants, Jotun. Wait, he only knows a little bit of Jotun, right? Isn't his accent gonna sound crazy? Like, I am not God. Like that or no? Because he only knows a little bit. I am not God. I am merely the fool who is interested in the long history of this world. Klein already activated his spirit vision by clicking his left molars. He noticed that the youth in front of him had different colors. How is this gonna work, by the way, with it if he joins? I mean, he's gonna join the tarot club, but how is it gonna work with communication? Had different colors covering the surface of his astral projection and the depths of his ether body. This meant that he was not a beyonder. Okay. The fool. Derrick ruminated over the term, and after a long silence said with difficulty, I don't care if you're a god or the fool. My prayers will not change. I hope that the people of the City of Silver will be freed from the curse of their destinies. I hope the sun and sky described in the books will appear in our skies. Aww. If possible, I wish that my parents can be revived. Hey, I'm not wishing well. Klein put down his hand and laughed. Why should I help you? Sorry, Maxil was being funny. I don't care. Oh yeah. Hey, I'm not wishing well. Klein put down his hands and laughed. Why should I help you? Derrick froze. He thought for some time before saying, I will offer my soul to you. I will use my blood to please you. I have no interest in the soul of and blood. I am no interest in the soul and blood of a mortal. Klein smiled and shook his head. He saw the color of the youth's feelings turn the color of despair bit by bit. Without waiting for the youth to speak, Klein nonchalantly said, but I can give you a chance. I am a fool, likes a fair and equal exchange. You can use what you can to attain your exchange with me, or people like you, to exchange for things you want. But remember, they must be equal in value. Ooh, actually smart! Fool can get stuff from the City of Silver. Actually cooking so hard here. This can make you powerful. Perhaps one day you can rely on your own strength to free the City of Silver from its curse and make the sun appear in your sky once again. Imagine, I want that to happen. I would be so happy for Derrick, brother. Based on the youth's description, Klein was confident that the City of Silver was a so-called Forsaken Land of God, or is in the Forsaken Land of God. Of course, he couldn't be certain of this for the time being. After all, the religious literature claimed that the world existed in sunless state during the first epoch, the Chaos Epoch. No one knew if there were any other strange lands and the countries of the northern continent were unaware of, other than the Forsaken Land of God. Derrick listened quietly. He lowered his head in silence and replied after a while. I want to become the sun. I wish to obtain the formula of the corresponding starting sequence potion from you. The sequence potion, the sun. The sequence pathway the Search of Eternal Blazing Sun possesses. From the looks of it, we exist in the same world. I wanna see the Derrick backstory episode animated, man. I was actually fucking crying. The Derm sequence was born from the revelation of the first Plasm Slate, which happened at the end of the second epoch, a dark epoch. In other words, in the City of Silver, it really is the Forsaken Land of God. This means that it was a split apart from the southern and northern continents at the end of the second epoch. Wow. Will this be related to the catalysm of the third epoch? According to the legends, the Evernight goddess, Earth Mother, and the god of combat ascended upon this world and protected humans from the cataclysm, along with the Lord of Storms, Eternal Blazing Sun, and the god of knowledge and wisdom. Klein obtained a fair bit of information from the youth. Good. This is all sorts of info, by the way. A bit? Yeah, this is a bit. But I hope it gets fully animated. But he had trouble interpreting what the youth was saying, and even more trouble organizing his words, and as he wasn't fluent in Jotun. Luckily, ancient Faceak was derived from Jotun. Man could be described as an expert in that area, and thus he could master Jotun relatively quickly. Ooh, wow! Preventing him from making a fool of himself. Ah, funny. Funny, right? Making a fool of yourself? Klein maintained his posture. He replied with a calm down. We can discuss this transition in the future. Do not go out for the next few days. Try your best to not be in the same room as anyone else. They didn't know the unit of time used in the City of Silver, much less the time difference it had with Lion Kingdom. Yeah, true, how can you tell him the time? All he could do was generalize it as tomorrow and wait until the tarot gathering was over before he told him that it was the time for future meetings. Klein knew that there was oh, basically, he's gonna make him stay here for 2 days until Monday, and then when Monday comes, he's gonna be here immediately. That means he can tell, oh, same time next days or same time in 7 days. Klein knew that there was a term for day in Johto, and thus deducted that the youth would understand even in the City of Silver didn't use it as measure of time. Alright, I'll follow your instruction, Derrick replied with his head lowered. He didn't have any objections. Klein heaved a sigh of relief. He tapped his fingers on the side of the table and said, before I send you back, let me first complete our equal exchange. I gave you a chance to be strong, and you have to give me something equal in return. I have said that I am the fool who is interested in a long history of this world. What I ask in return is the history of the City of Silver. Everything that you know. Oh my god, imagine. What if the days were different? Yeah, there's no sun. True. Derrick thought for a moment before replying softly. I will describe it faithfully. City of Silver has existed ever since the omnipotent and omniscient God, the Lord that created everything, the original creator. This land, no, it existed before that, but it was called the Kingdom of Silver. Ooh, okay. Sure he knows what time is 3 PM in Backland? Yeah, sure, buddy. Giant pathway? I need to pee, by the way. I'll be right back. This is continuing. This is like 2 chapters of new info I never thought I would see. I'm gonna go quickly to pee, by the way. I'm gonna be right back. I'm so excited, by the way. Giant pathway. I wonder if... How did the kingdom of silver become the city of silver? War? Let's see. Giant pathway. The omnipotent and omniscient god. The Lord that created everything. Klein leaned back and maintained a profound posture, while he ruminated over the words that the youth from the city of silver had said. He was no stranger to a Lord that created everything. The Creator mentioned in the Book of Storms, the Revelation of Evernight, and the other urban myth revert to the Creator with similar titles. So also the way various sacred organizations like the Aurora Order describe the true Creator. What if it's some other god? Yeah, of course, top server. But it was the first time Klein was hearing of an omnipotent and omniscient god in this world. Be it Evernight Goddess, Lord of Storms, and the god of steam and machinery, none of them claim to be omniscient and or omnipotent. So maybe a god from the giant pathway then? The city of silver was really in the Forsaken Land of God, then the Forsaken Land of God will truly belong to this world. The omnipotent, omniscient god might be the title of the Creator that was used by the living in ancient times. Klein looked towards the young man opposite him in thought. He looked at the emotional colors of pain and sorrow. When DERRICK felt the full gaze, he lowered his head involuntarily. Am I muted? No. He recalled the legends that his parents had told him. He said slowly and sadly, when the sun disappeared from the sky, when the clouds were ripped and torn apart, when the lightning and thunder became our rulers, and the monsters lurking in the dark suddenly emerged, one so terrifying beyond one's imagination. They destroyed one city after another in the Kingdom of Silver. Humanity's dark ages had arrived. And maybe this sounds like some high level Beyonder or another god made the monsters run rampant in that kingdom, like epochs ago. Right? Sun doesn't just simply disappear. Maybe there's like some kind of ritual or done to this whole land where it can be undone somehow. Maybe one of the gods who... let's keep reading. The remaining experts in the City of Silver then relied on their united power and 2 magical items before they finally warded off the attack of the Things of the Dark. They gradually eradicated the monsters within one day journey of the city, and they established a city-state that protected the last night of human civilization. A standard export description, Klein couldn't help but comment in his head. The young man's description made him feel that City of Silver was in a different world than the northern continent. Maybe this is the unique characteristic of the Forsaken Land of God, he thought without revealing his emotions. DERRICK calmed his breathing and continued. During the first few decades, plants couldn't grow. City of Silver had severe lack of food, and we could only hunt dark creatures or mutated animals to relieve our hunger. Population had dropped dramatically. Fortunately, we found black-faced grass. Ugh! It could survive under such circumstances, and it became our only reliable and stable food source. It was said to be final intervention that the magnificent god left for us. It allowed us, one generation after another, to live in one City of Silver. It persisted the Dark Ages for 2,582 years. I'm just guessing that the monsters that were attacking are the similar evil spirits that DERRICK's parents would have turned into, that he had to kill. So maybe all monsters that they're fighting in the Forsaken Land of God used to be humans. That makes sense, right? And I'm just guessing this, and this is not some kind of like natural disaster. This is dictated by some other god, maybe in the second, or first, or like third epoch when gods were fighting, right? And until this day, it's been like forsaken, and maybe it can be undone by another god. Oh yeah. DERRICK calmed his breathing and continued. During the first few decades, plants, the passage of time recorded by a long line of chiefs. For the rest of the people in the City of Silver, we call it periods of frequent lightning day. And when the lightning subsides, we call it night. It's a rather confusing system, and it makes exact dates difficult to pinpoint. Such a magical place. I mean, does it have to be a god? Remember, the Evernight goddess destroyed like families. Anticonus family. Maybe there are like influential families that were high sequence beyonders, like sequence 2 and sequence 3, who could do something like this. Right? This is like warfare using monsters by turning the enemies or your enemies' monsters into fighting for you, like possessing. Such a magical place, Klein was glad that he hadn't talked about tomorrow, but instead vaguely mentioned the following 2 days. Derrick briefly talked about a few memorable incidents in City of Silver history and said, 1 second, I have an important message. Like, that, what a fucking timing, by the way. When the population returned to a certain level, the number of Beyonders increased. Oh, sorry. Such a magical place. Klein was glad that he hadn't talked about tomorrow, but instead vaguely mentioned the following 2 days. Derrick briefly talked about a few memorable incidents in the City of Silver's history and said, when the population returned to a certain level, the number of Beyonders increased. The 6-member council started forming elite troops to explore the dark. We have now explored all of the original territory and nearby cities. We are advancing towards the darker and more terrifying depths of the dark. At the border we found cities with strange architectural style, but they were destroyed at some point. It's suspected they were sanctuaries built by other remaining humans. Unfortunately, they still lost the things of the dark in the end. Ooh. 6-member council. Elite troops. Kind of sounds like Attack on Titan a little bit. Like they were sallying outwards. The things with dark dimensions should be a reference to monsters that hide in the dark. Ones that are beyond imagination. Klein nodded indiscriminately. Why Attack on Titan? Because I couldn't give any other like reference or comparison. Sorry. Like they are in a city. They are sallying out, or they're going out bit by bit, but they're like monsters who attack you. In this case, monsters of the dark. In AOT's case, giants or like titans or whatever. Anyway. Kingdom of Silver was once ruled by a giant king. Ooh, on the giant pathway maybe? That's the Beyonder chain that we are in control of, is the giant pathway. Also known as the Divine Blood Warrior sequence. Warrior? Wait, is it actually Warrior? Or is another one called Giant Pathway? I'm gonna copy this to my notes. When we killed certain monsters and explored those destroyed cities, we obtained potion formulas of other sequences. However, the sequence pathways are incomplete, Derrick said, moving on to explain the current situation in the City of Silver. Okay, interesting. That's so cool. Upon hearing that, Klein's mind jolted. Although he didn't change his posture much, he was obviously paying more attention. I love knowing more about sequence potions. The Giant King, the City of Silver, and the Northern Continent share the same history. The Second Epoch's history. Ooh, Second Epoch, not First Epoch, yeah. Killing a monster causes it to drop a formula. Is this a game? No, there's another possibility. Those monsters were once human. Yep, I told you. Beyonders, Klein suddenly felt a heavy weight on his shoulders. Yep. I think Klein's conclusion about that is correct, by the way. I think it's correct. Man, that's kind of depressing, by the way. Derrick saw that the full didn't reply. He clenched his teeth, wondered, and said, the names of the giant sequences pathways are sequence 9, the Beyonder Warrior. Oh! We are getting the full fucking the full pathway. There's no way. What the frick? Then okay, so this info, by the way, for Klein, I think this is equivalent exchange. Klein has to put something. Sequence 9, the Beyonder Warrior. Sequence 8, Gladiator. Sequence 7, Weapons Master. Sequence 6, Dawn Paladin. Interesting. Sequence 5, Guardian. Sequence 4, Demon Hunter. Oh, okay, so 4, up to 4. Only the elders in the 6-member council know the name of the higher sequence. I'm guessing sequence 1 maybe something giant. Maybe like giant? Just giant. Oh my god, until sequence 4, that's crazy. Sequence 4 Demon Hunter is the name of the high sequence potion formula. This is the first time I heard something like this. Klein felt delighted in the fact that he finally learned one of the names of the higher sequences. However, he suspected it was a name from an ancient times, which will be different from the current version in the northern continent. True. Just like the Storm Priest and the Seafarer. Oh, Beyonder Warrior, Gladiator, Weapons Master, sounds familiar. Alright, sequence pathway where the Church of the God of Combat was in control. Very similar to this. Sequence... Oh my god, wait, so these are old names. The new names are... Sequence 8 Pugilist, Sequence 7 Weapon Master. Pugilist is like, you have like small weapons, right? Sequence 7 weapons, but due to the limits of the security clearance, Klein only knew the titles of the first 3 sequences the Church of the God in Combat had in control. But the similarity between the two pathways was still obvious. So Warrior pathway is actually called Giant pathway, and I think sequence 1 is like Giant of something, right? The similarity between the two pathways are still obvious. Based on the core meaning, they are basically identical. The complete sequence that the Search of the God of Combat mastered is so-called Giant sequence pathway. It is said there was a god that emerged in the third epoch, which was the Cataclysm epoch, who inherited the state of the Giant King. Or could it be that he himself was ancient giant? Ryan analyzed and charged while he maintained his calm appearance. Giant of Sigma? Derrick continued to explain. After he pulled through the initial hardships, the City of Silver has been ruled by 6-member council ever since. The elder that enjoys the highest position in the council is called the Chief. The other 5 are equal in rank. The current 6-member council is formed by 3 demon hunters, 2 guardians with the greatest potential, and a shepherd. Shepherd? What the fuck is a shepherd? From what pathway? The Silver has 3 high sequence beyonders, demigod like experts. These 3 done alone will destroy the Gaia Club 100 times over. Ryan felt a little afraid. He had dared to attempt recruiting someone under the nose of a high sequence beyonder. However, since the young man was just a mere commoner, with him not even at sequence 9, it was unlikely that he would gain the attention of the upper echelons for a long time. Thus, Klein relaxed again. Is Shepherd another sequence pathway? Sounds like Shepherd sounds like sequence 9 kind of thing. Perhaps from the incomplete pathway. Sounds reminiscent of the style of the Aurora Order. The Emperor of the Aurora Order wrote or said, what was his name again? He kept mentioning the Lord Lamb. Klein maintained his leisurely posture and asked casually, Shepherd? Yes, this is a sequence pathway that we found from a city that things of the dark destroyed it. It only reached sequence 5 Shepherd. Sequence 5 Shepherd, but Elder Lovia is very strong, very strange and very scary. It said that she once fought against an evil spirit at the level of a high sequence beyonder without getting injured. Therefore, when there was a vacancy in the 6-member council, they made an exception for her. Derrick feeling a little fear. Interesting. Why was... Yeah, that's what I mean. It wouldn't make sense, but it sounds like it, you know? Klein thought this man and asked what sequence before Shepherd. I found them familiar. As you know, a sequence historical name and the current name is always different. City of Silver, the names of potions have never changed. Derrick refuted instinctively. He then lowered his head and said, Sequence 9, Secret Suppliant. There we go. The Aurora Order pathway. Indeed! Klein was satisfied when the questions were confirmed. This is the name of the Sequence 9 from the Aurora Order. Sequence 8 is Whispered. Sequence 7 is Shadow Ascetic. Sequence 6, Rose Bishop. Sequence 5, Shepherd. Oh my fucking god. This is insane lore drop, by the way. Oh my god. Shadow Ascetic. Whispered. Rose Bishop. This goes hard. What the fuck is Ascetic? Ascetic? Is that how you say it? Look for pronunciation, please. Ascetic. Rose Bishop, Sequence 5 Shepherd. Derrick continued what he knew. Okay. Ascetic. I said it. Exfanber Scratcher 92. Whispered, listener, they're the same. They are. I knew more than the information provided by Ding and Nighthawks. In good mood, Klein beckoned for Derrick to continue. Jesus, this is literally not equivalent exchange because Klein needs to give something more in return. Derrick then roughly described the current situation of the City of Silver, and finally he couldn't help but say, I carry the curse of destiny. Whether a citizen of the City of Silver is a commoner or a beyonder, we all turn into evil spirits after we die. The evil spirit of the beyonder is just a stranger, more terrifying and far more difficult to deal with. In the past there were many occasions when this curse nearly destroyed the City of Silver. The only way to prevent an evil spirit from rising is for a person to be killed by someone of their own bloodline. Kinda feels like this curse might be reversed somehow. Such a cruel matter. I hope you can grow strong and find a method with the people in City of Silver to make off the course. Klein the fool, who was merely an empty shell, could only provide some free chicken soup for the soul. What is that term? Chicken soup. Free chicken soup. I wonder how much they're gonna change that for donghua when Derrick first appeared in front of Audrey and Olger. Yeah. Klein nodded. So I want to be the sun. When there was sun shining over the land, we had never courted any course. Derrick muttered softly and with fear and difficulty and pain. I'm guessing maybe when the thick fucking fog or whatever gallops the land of Forsaken God, the land of not land of silver, the Forsaken God, the land of Forsaken God, then maybe people stop turning to evil spirits as well. It's like dark. It's kind of like the fog in the Tarot Club, no? Not the same thing though. Klein nodded slightly and asked, "You will have the chance to remember that I can pull you in error any time for the next 2 days. Try to avoid being around other people." "All right," Derrick replied solemnly. "Before that, I need you to confirm your code name." Klein smiled and pointed at the deck of tarot cards that appeared on the table. Confident that Derrick had never come into contact with tarot cards, he gave a brief introduction. "Pick one of the cards as your code name. Anything besides the Fool, Justice, and the Hanged Man." Derrick took a step forward, flipped through the tarot cards, and said without hesitation, "Sun. I picked the Sun. Remember your choice. It will follow you for the rest of your life," Klein replied like a charlatan. At the same time, extended his hand and severed the connection in a restrained manner. Then he watched as the crimson glow receded, and the young man opposite of him turned incorporeal, and dispersed bit by bit. Cinema. Cinema. Absolute cinema. Absolute cinema. Absolute cinema. Wow, okay, this is the thrill. I was feeling super thrilled reading new stuff. Reading such an impactful story about Derrick's parents, where Derrick is from, and the Forsaken Land of God. The Forsaken Lands of the Gods, yeah. The lands that the gods have forsaken. Makes, I mean, the name is self-explanatory, right? And the backstory, and I kinda was thinking, how can they fix the situation? So what I'm guessing is, for future of Derrick is gonna join. In 2 days we have another Tarot Club meeting. In that meeting we might already have Derrick in there, which I think we do. And then maybe we're gonna see him getting the potion for Sequence 9 Sun from the Sun pathway. Because I mean he deserves it for all the information he's given us. Maybe Aldrich can help with that because he has money, he has connections. Maybe also Derrick is gonna make a small team in the City of Silver. Maybe he's gonna start selling out. He's gonna try to fix problems around City of Silver. Gonna be helpful for us. This is the biggest W Tarot Club has ever had, by the way. Getting Derrick for our, like, imagine the info we can get, by the way, that no other organization can get. Tarot Club is eating good, and I'm really glad Derrick is our 4th member of the Tarot Club. Now, 5th member, please force. Please force. Derrick is the biggest W for now, exactly. Damn, that was so cool. 139. Oh yeah, my back hurts like crazy. You are a force hater. Force hate is so forced. But really, excess fan. You have no life, do you? Send the picture of your haircut, please. Chapter 129, studying 30782. After crimson light in front of him dissipated, Derrick Berg saw his room once again. He saw the pure crystal ball in his hands. Crack! The crystal ball shattered from the inside. Some of it turned into pieces of illusory beams of light that flew into the void around him, while the other crystalline fragments fell noisily to the ground. Derrick looked up, dumbfounded. He could see the traces of blood on his face reflected in the bronze mirror. He noticed the crimson light spiraling on the back of his right palm, forming a circle with lines extending out from the edge. The strange symbol bore into the back of his palm and vanished. Derrick fell into a daze. In a time of it took several flashes of lightning to illuminate the sky before snapping into his senses. More Derrick, by the way. Let's fucking go. He looked at the fragments of the crystal ball on the ground, then looked at the back of his right hand as his gaze turned deeper. He walked out of his bedroom, returned to the living room, and opened the door to look up at the sky above the city of silver. An arc of lightning streaked across the sky, illuminating the city of silver sheen. Right on the heels of that rumbling thunder, the world belonged to the dark. Without any speck of light, a heavy darkness only left people in despair. Derrick clenched his fists. There was no joy in his eyes, for they were still filled with remnant grief and pain. But he was no longer lost. Huge W for Derrick's story, by the way. I think, Derrick, I wish you nothing but happiness, and I cannot wait to see more of you in the Tarot Club in 2 days. Which I do think all the shit is about to hit the fan with the doomsday of Dingen, so we'll see. Oh, it looks like I managed to trick another person to becoming a member. No, I have managed to recruit one other member. Glenn shook his head and mocked the present strength of his Tarot Club. The leader, the fool, was only sequence 9, one who had just fully digested the Seer Potion, and there were at least 3 sequence beyonders at sequence 4 in the hopeless city of silver the sun spoke of. After mentioning the acting method one more time, I can start telling the captain the specifics and handing them a special application. At the very least, I'll stop being in charge of support once I become a clown. Klein didn't stay in the world of work. He extended his spirituality, wrapped it around himself, and initiated a descent. Daring through the grey fog and passing through the railings, he returned to his room before dispelling the wall of spirituality. Then Klein picked up the key and headed out for the room. He first went to the 2 rooms booked by Dan, take a look in order to confirm that the captain and Fry hadn't returned yet. He then headed for the first level and handed the key back to the boss. The boss looked at the wall and clock at the side and gave him thumbs up. Well done. Hey, are you mistaken over why I booked an hourly room? I wanted to explain himself, but finally decided to leave the misunderstanding as it was. Feeling wronged, he tried to console himself. Yes, this way. He won't mention that I rented another room in front of the captain. After heading out and going through the motions, he climbed a quick divination and returned to the inn based on the results. He headed straight to the 2nd floor to find Tan and Fry discussing the investigations in one of the rooms, just as expected. We can confirm that the Wraith appeared within the last 3 months, Tan summarized to Klein with a nod as he came to the door. Klein immediately echoed. My investigations also confirmed it. He highlighted the main points of his questioning and concluded. Hey, there's a townsfolk named Scoundrel Grey who claimed that he had the portrait of the first Baron Lamoud. He said it was an antique oil painting more than 1,000 years old. Condemn your body, Tan eyes shimmered as he was taken aback before he asked, Captain, do you think I'm stupid to be fooled that easily? Klein gave a dry laugh. No, I didn't. Even though I'm a history student, I have attended some lessons on archaeology and I have some degree of experience in this area. I can more or less determine if something is fake. Heh, the person on the project looked like my history teacher, Mr. Isaac. He's saying this, by the way, just in case in the future it turns out that Hans learned about this, which, you know, he shouldn't die before that, but so Klein can say, oh, I did say that. Casually mentioned the most important piece of information, and indeed Dan didn't pay much attention to it. He massaged his temples and said, "This is a small town near a historical site. There will always be a myriad of antiques here. There's a vendor selling the silver wine glasses of Baron Lamont. Someone tried to sell me the insignia of the Lamont family, claiming that they had been dug out of the castle," Fry added. Klein subconsciously asked, "Did you guys buy them?" Fry and Klein looked at each other and didn't continue with the subject. "The next mission is for you, or Fry, to take sealed artifact 30782 out for down to somewhere uninhabited. Otherwise, a good half of the people in this inn will become..." What are you talking about? Idiot splattering praise of the sun. "Are you going first or Fry?" Dan looked at Klein with his deep grey eyes. "Me," Klein raised his hand slightly and smiled. "It's still quite early, so I can come back and have nice sleep later. We are doing 2-hour shifts, right?" "Yes, Fry, go over with Klein and confirm where you'll exchange the sealed artifact." Dan turned to look at Corpse Collector Fry. He had already found an opportunity to hand sealed artifact 30782 over to Fry when they split up to conduct their investigations. Otherwise, he would have been purified and started racing the sun. Fry hadn't enough time to recover and could only hold the item for under 3 hours. "I don't know where the mods are." Mods! Mods! I mean, who's reading your messages? Mods! No mods? Okay, time to close the chat, guys. Jesus. I'm not going in the chat, by the way. Me, yeah. Alright, Fry took out the muted sun emblem from the inner pocket of his black trench coat and handed it over to Klein. Klein took the item with a fair bit of curiosity and interest. The metal was warm to the touch, as if hot water was flowing within it. The warm, gentle glow was like a ripple, spreading outward in waves and bringing with a pure smell. At the same time, Klein felt that the dark golden sacred emblem carved with the symbol of the sun was cleansing his spirituality, removing the impurities and leaving it pure. Of course, all sealed artifacts have their dangers. Death might occur if one isn't careful enough. "It's impossible to have faith worse than death," he muttered to himself as he placed the sealed artifact 30782 into his inner pocket. After inspecting his revolver, charms, and cane, he walked out of the room and left the inn together with Fry. They headed straight to the outskirts of Lamut town. The two circled an area beside the sparse and deserted forest, and confirmed that there was no one within dozens of meters of them. "Chase away anyone who approaches you," Fry Goldin reminded. "I'll count to take your place in 2 hours." "Sounds good," Klein replied with a smile. After seeing Fry enter the town, he found a tall boulder he had eyed previously. He picked up some leaves from the tree beside him and wiped the surface of the boulder. He then touched the top of the stone with his finger and inspected the stone under the light of the crimson moon. After confirming that it was clean, Klein put on his black trench coat and sat down. "Why stand when you can sit?" Klein thought of himself, smart. After a few minutes of silence, he looked at the dark, quiet, and rather scary forest. He couldn't help but stand up, taking out several metal bottles from his hidden pockets and scattering their contents, herb powder, and essential oils, around the boulder. Klein recited an incantation in Hermes. With the help of the materials, he created a barrier of spirituality, sealing the area he was in. Okay. Ankh is here. Good. He did this simple ritual for 2 reasons. First, he didn't want to rely too much on his premonition Much on his premonition for dangerous here to defend against corpses and spirit launching a sneak attack against him. Second reason was to keep the bugs away. It's 100 times better than an insect repellent, Klein sat back down, satisfied. Oh, that's so funny. After sitting there for a few minutes, Klein took out the sealed artifact 30782. Out of curiosity, he began detailed inspection of the mutated sun sacred emblem. I wonder if I could use divination to find out its origins and how it became special. He took out the pen and paper he always had on him and wrote a statement. The origin of the mutated sun sacred emblem in my hands. As a qualified and true seer, when I have made the preparations needed to divine anywhere. Damn, smart. After reciting the statement 7 times, he closed his eyes and entered a state of cogitation, using that as a launchpad to propel him into his dreams. All he saw was fragmented pieces of light in his dreams. Other than that, he didn't learn anything else. Yes, the church must have gotten other seers to attempt the same thing in the past. The fact that there was no mention of its origin must mean that there has no result from the divination. It's like what happened just now. Klein sighed. He then thought, I wonder what will happen if I eliminate interferences. This thought immediately filled Klein's head, pushing his curiosity to a peak. After more than 10 minutes of hesitation, he stood up. He decided that it was fine, since there was just no one around, considering how he was in a secluded area of the forest. He took 4 steps counterclockwise, inside his wall of spirituality, entering the world about the Great Fog once again. Klein sat at the seat of honor, at the ancient table in the magnificent palace. He conjured a few sheets of yellowish-brown coatskin and black fountain pen, as well as the mutated sun sacred emblem. It feels rather real. He rubbed Seal Artifact 30782 in his hands, finding tactile feedback identical to the one he had felt in outside world. He instantiates itself based on what I felt. I mumbled to himself before writing down the statement he had come up with previously. The origin of mutated sun, sacred emblem in my hands. After reciting the statement 7 times, he held the piece of coatskin and sealed artifact in his hands and leaned back and entered his dream. In the blurry teamwork, Klein saw a drop of flowing cold liquid. It was warm and bright. Let's go. I'm here. It was suspended above an altar before a man dressed in a white classic robe. This is gonna be really interesting, just like how the DERRICK scenes earlier. And man, I love the DERRICK chapters. They made so many good theories as well, I think. The man only had his back facing Klein. He had lost all signs of life as he fell slowly towards the sacrificial altar. Ooh, interesting. At that moment, the sun sacred emblem he was holding had come into contact with the golden liquid, the latter quickly seeping into the emblem. The dream quickly dissipated after Klein saw this, waking up. Lucy Rem, again, you gifted? Thank you. That's a lot of gifts, dude. Thank you so much. Wow, a lot of people got it. Congratulations, Afterlife, Speed, Dreams, Jail, Okefalos, Pavel Borges, Japanese name, Tortoise Knight, Missile Dapia, and Y Bisha. Good job. I'm so good job for getting the subscription, and thank you so much, Lucy Ram, again. She has gifted 30 subs, by the way. And XS Fanber torched again, by the way. That's funny. Lucy Ram is loaded, yeah. I mean, she's using Monopoly money, so basically. Are we reaching 163? I don't think so. We are reaching 5 million though. Oh man, I wanna see more of DERRICK, dude. Oh, that's so sad. Anyway, so it was because of the golden liquid that this sacred emblem has been so effective and uncontrollable to this day. Decades have passed since the discovery of this emblem, but its cleansing powers haven't declined. I wonder what this golden liquid was. Somewhat once beyond their ingredient. Klein died with the sealed artifact 30782 in his hands and slipped into deep thought. Oh no, Lucy Ram, I'm sorry. Good luck on your exams, by the way. Seriously, good luck. He accomplished it almost immediately as he thought came to him. Klein looked in shock at the emblem, which was no longer warm or pure. He watched as it drops of golden liquid. Wait, what? After deliberating over it for a few minutes, he tried to emulate the feeling he had in a dream. He wanted to separate the golden liquid from the mirrored sun emblem he had conjured. He accomplished it almost immediately as the thought came to him. Klein looked in shock at the emblem, which was no longer warm or pure. He watched as the drops of golden liquid slightly suspended themselves in the air. He had even more praise for the mysterious space above the fog. This is practically a miracle, even if the separation and instantation here isn't real. The origins of the drop of golden liquid. He penned down a new statement with great excitement. Oh my god, he's gonna look at the god in the next page, right? The origins of this... Oh my god, 140, that was a very smooth transition to the next chapter, by the way. Damn, I can't even speak. Transition? Next, let's go. Klein getting cooked. Quite literally, by the way. I'm just saying. Maybe I need to make another mod. Maybe next stream? Seems like Lucy Rem is gonna be busy the entire time, right? Okay, let's go. 140. Expert.
I sure hope nobody gets burned. I want to see TDS.
That scared me, man. Thank you for the 6. The 6 spirit stones. That scared me again, dude. Let me see the currency. Thank you so much for the 6 stones. ELS. Oh damn, okay. Thank you for the 6 shekels. The origin of this drop of golden liquid. After reciting the divination statement 7 times, it's shekels. Klein held onto the goatskin and the illusory golden liquid before leaning back in his seat. I had to look, what is that? Thank you. He didn't know if he could divine with the item that was instantiated based purely on a feeling. All he could do was make bold assumptions and carefully seek confirmation, and this works. Also, it scares me every time, by the way. His eyelids dropped down, he saw the illusory yet blurry dream. In the blurry world that looked in shambles, a golden clearing sun suddenly appeared. A low grunt resounded across the void. The pure and clean light suddenly lit everything up as the gold and burning flames swept outwards. Holy shit! Boom! Klein instantly expelled from his dream world and flipped onto his side as he shivered. His body seemed to become a huge bonfire, which burned with a raging flame. Bro is literally on fire, by the way. At that moment, his thoughts were all over the place. No proper idea could form from the chaos in his mind. Rumble. The mysterious space above the grey fog shook violently. Damn, okay. And the lofty palace collapsed inch by inch. The ancient model bronze table broke into a few pieces. Terrifying changes only continued for 3 seconds before the world above the grey fog returned to tranquility as though nothing had happened. The gold flame gradually extinguished. He rolled around on his charred skin. Oh god. He was terrified and confused about what had just happened. He had never imagined a mere divination would result in such consequences. He panted and lifted his head to survey the surroundings. He realized that the lofty palace and ancient bronze table, which looked like they had stood unchanged since ancient times, had been damaged. In the world above the grey fog, which had never experienced any abnormality, it was simply an unprecedented level of damage. What happened? My scream? My scream is very zesty, by the way. Anyway, what happened? Did my divination point towards some unfathomable existence? That's the thing. By the way, Derrick looked at the fool, nothing happened. I wonder if ever we're gonna get in a tarot club, we're gonna get a scenario where the fool has to defend himself from like Olger or from like Derrick actually accusing of him not being a real a real god. Did I see that? I mean, if the fool doesn't say he's a god, he says he's the fool that wants to learn this world's history or something like that. So yeah, I can't believe I only had to pay 6 shekels. Yeah, I mean, I'm really easily scared. So, no, that was the sun. So I think it was. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'll get sidetracked again. There's such a cool chapter. Could that drop of cold liquid be the blood of a god? Did I see eternal blazing sun or some powerful angel of his? No, that was the sun. So I think it was the former. Damn, they just looked directly at a god. Klein felt more fear as he thought about it. He felt that he had nearly died. Those who know nothing fear nothing, but those who don't court death won't die. Ooh, in the future I can't just divine anything and everything. Who knows what I'll see? If that were to happen once more, I don't know if that were to happen once more, I don't know if this mysterious space could even shelter me from fatal damage. When that happens, I'd actually die. Yes, it definitely won't do if I continue making experiments with the golden liquid, existence from before, which was likely eternal glazing sun. He must have sensed the sudden hidden and unexpected influence from the divination above the grey fog, and failed to respond in time. If he were prepared, this mysterious space might not have been able to withstand the repercussions. The currency has so much aura. Yeah, it looks like an ancient symbol. Having come to this realization, Klein's body had already returned to normal. It was no longer charred, but compared to before, he was dimmer and more incorporeal than before. Literally, Klein got cooked. He's lifted his hand to massage his... By the way, I don't think Klein learned from his mistake. He's gonna look at the god again, thinking that the grey folk will save him. It's gonna be a bad habit of his. Then the palace... he lifted his hand to massage his temples and commanded with his mind to restore the balance and the long table. Then the palace and the long table, sorry. Then the palace that looked like the home of a giant and the long table cast... Oh, wait a second. Then the palace that looked like a home of a giant. Interesting description, by the way. And the long table cast out of bronze returned to normal. Everything looked like it had before. We know that the leader of the City of Silver, or the Kingdom of Silver, was a giant from Derrick's backstory, right? But the table and the seats are not fit for a giant. Ryan sat down and leaned against the back of the chair. He engaged in self-mockery. Well, this isn't entirely bad. At least I know the limit of the mysterious space and I have a certain goal. Only powers approaching the angels of the gods can completely influence the power of the area above the grey fog? Question mark? EBS flash Klein's review. EBS was hottest. What are you saying? Ugh, I have to add another new rule to my series principles. Do not randomly divine things that involve a high level entity. Yes, I shouldn't hastily activate my spirit vision either. If I were to look directly at things that shouldn't be looked at directly, it might be game over. In the outside world, I don't have the mysterious base to fend off most of the negative effects. While after a while, Klein's expression turned odd because some knowledge was reverberating in his head. Yes, knowledge! In the short time he had spent with what appeared to be eternal blazing sun, Klein was constantly in his divination state. Hence, he could instinctively divine certain matters and knowledge from the being that he was looking at. By the way, Beats, are you here, by the way? A viewer named Beats? Type in chat if you're here. He quickly used the dream divination to recall and organize what he had gathered that wasn't his primary objective. He picked up the black fountain pen and wrote one after another. I do not look directly at God. White angel. Interesting. The technique of making a flaring sun charm, relatively high-level charm in the domain of the sun, is potency, can last a year before it deteriorates. There's no need for a ritual to pray to the eternal blazing sun, but the procedure requires the sealed artifact 30782 to take the ritual's place. It will siphon power from the mutated sun sacred emblem. I think White Angel is a sequence. I was just gonna say before you typed that XS fanbar, by the way. Oh my god, it got deleted! No, it's confirmed now! No, my first huge spoiler! My first huge spoiler. I was just about to say it before I read this message. Oh my god. Oh, maybe it wasn't the spoiler then. Was my mistake? Maybe saved? Maybe saved? Maybe saved? Maybe saved? It was an accident. Okay, so before XS Fanber's message, I was thinking White Angel. It kind of sounds like maybe a sequence, but we know that higher sequence beyond is also called angels. So maybe it's not, but I think maybe it is. Or every god has like their servants, and the sun god servants are called white angels. I see, Nightwalker. Okay, good. So I had a breakdown, crash out, and it wasn't even a good one. Extremely hostile towards Lord of Storms and God of Knowledge and Wisdom. Bard Potion formula. Oh, Bard Potion. Wait. Yeah, Bard Potion, not the Sun Potion. I remember. I think in YouTube comments someone said Bard. That's something I think I was spoiled about before that comment was removed, because later on the comment was removed. So this is now revealed and my memory wasn't fooling me. The Sun, sequence 9 Sun, right? Wait, let me get my notes up. Time to revive the notes. I meant the real notes, not my Discord like fake notes. Temporary notes, I meant the real. Okay, Unshadowed is sequence 4. Bard, Sun. I think. Monster, also. This is actually a giant pathway. No, sorry, Warrior. Sorry. Sorry, Warrior. Where's Warrior? Giant pathway. And then Arbiter sequence 8 was Sheriff, which has so much aura, by the way. Sheriff. Absolute aura. Remove Soothsayer. Oh, maybe I made a mistake or something. Sure. There we go. Maybe there was a mistake on my part then. What's up? Hatash Masal Y678. 6-7! True. Oh my god, rare name. You have 6-7 in your name. Anyway. Bard Potion formula. Main ingredients: a crystal sunflower. Oh, we need that for our little son. We need that for Derrick. Main ingredient: a crystal sunflower or an adult flint bird tail feather, firebird's tail feather, a piece of siren rock, or a singing sunflower. Supplementary ingredients: a blade of midsummer grass, 5 drops of July vine juice, a blade of elf dark leaf. Light suppliant potion formula. What fucking sequence is this? Light suppliant. Okay. Priest of light. Ooh! Main ingredients: a piece of brilliance rock, or powder of dazzling soul, or blood of a mirror hedgehog, or the heart of a magma titan. Magma titan. Supplementing ingredients: golden edge sunflower, 3 drops of agonite juice. Light suppliant. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Priest of light. Oh my god, remember what I said about there might be a sequence called Prophet of something? We have a sequence called Priest of Light. Maybe there's like Prophet of Truth, Prophet of Darkness, Prophet of Future. Oh. I thought it was Sun. My bad. Yeah, you're right. I think sequence 1 is Sun. You're right, you're right. But I'm not gonna. And then question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. And then Priest of Light. Do we have Priest of Darkness somewhere? Prophet of Sigma. Information of main ingredients missing. Supplementary ingredients: 5 grams of rosemary. That's easy. 7 drops of fingered citron juices. Rock water. What the fuck is rock water? Rock water. Oh my god. Sequence 8. 8 sequence 4. Unshadowed. We know that one from the donghua. Main ingredients could be the golden blood of God extracted from the mutated sun, sacred emblem. It could also be replaced with 3 adult sun divine birds' tail feathers and the piece of holy brilliance rock. Holy brilliance rock reminds me of. Hasn't that been mentioned before? Maybe I'm just tripping. Information of supplement ingredients missing. After writing down the 8 lines, Klein couldn't help but to rap the edge of the long table. He had gained way more than he imagined. He was already satisfied with surviving his reckless divination earlier, but now if you squeeze the rock really hard, but now he had received an unexpected survival reward. From the confidential information he received from the Nighthawks, he knew that the sequence pathway that the Search of Eternal Blazing Sun held was called Sun, and its sequence line was barred. It could allow the Beyonder to imbue courage and strength for themselves and their allies through their thinking, a job that brought about devotion and submission. The slogan was, "Let us praise the sun." Ooh. Sequence 9 is barred, yeah, Sun, called Sun. Whoa, and sequence 1 was barred. So I'm guessing maybe sequence 1 is Eternal Blazing Sun. Will allow the Beyonder to imbue courage and strength for themselves. The corresponding sequence 8 was Light Suppliant. They could cast spells and hold. Ooh, new one again. Light Suppliant, they could cast spells and hold rituals from the Sun domain, which were effective against corpses and spirits. Sequence 7 was called Solar High Priest, which greatly enhanced the spells and rituals within its domain. Interesting, Light Suppliant. Okay, we're filling in the part sequence. Sequence 8. Light Suppliant. Sequence 7. Solar High Priest. Praise the sun. Let's go. Very active against corpses. Okay. In other words, I have obtained the complete potion formulas for sequence 9 and sequence 8 in the sun sequence pathway. Yes, like before, the potion formula even lists replacement items, ingredient names from different eras. I would love to be a bard, by the way. I would love to play music for my homies. As expected, the formulas obtained directly from Eternal Blazing Sun through divination. Klein thought in satisfaction. It originally planned. Where's the sex haver pathway, by the way, or sequence? He had originally planned on seeing if the Hanged Man could solve the request of the young man from the City of Silver. After all, Search of Storms and the Search of the Eternal Blazing Sun were the most ancient or orthodox sects. They had fought against each other for thousands of years, so it will make sense for the two churches to have learned the initial sequence of their other pathways. The Hanged Man might not have cared about the Sun pathway previously, but since he is very likely a sequence 7 seafarer, it will probably be easy for him to, if he really needed to gather the information. However, I don't need him now. I solved it myself through an unbelievable yet extremely dangerous method. Miss Justice, Mr. Hanged Man, my son, my friend, oh, my son friend. Your fool nearly turned himself into a child's corpse. Klein lampooned silently, while his still lingering sense of fear. He lowered his head and looked at the records of the goat skin before him. He thought of another formula. Will the Priest of Light be an ancient name of the Solar High Priest? Ooh. Interesting observation. I have to keep my mind connected to that and make connections there as well. Klein did it before me, I guess. The confidential information of the Nighthawks never mentioned it, and my divination didn't pinpoint the sequence number. Is it sequence 6, sequence 5? Why not say sequence 6 or sequence 7? Oh, because we know what sequence 7 is. Anyway, sequence 4, Unshadowed, is the first high sequence formula that I've obtained. It's such a pity that it lacks a supplementary ingredients. I wonder how can I fill in the blanks. Also, Titan Magma. I can believe that the drop of golden liquid is really the blood of a god. Sealed Artifact 30782 is probably far stronger than anyone imagines. What I can see is sufficient to become a grade 1 sealed artifact. Wow. It's likely that the Nighthawks from before only determined whether the item has any traits of the living, how much danger it will cause the nearby humans, how difficult it is to control the item's effects, and if it can be used against corpses and spirits. They had no way of discovering its unique origin. The mutated sun, sacred emblem, can probably even fight against evil spirits. How could the examiner find an evil spirit to experiment on? As an official Nighthawk, I can become the owner of Sealed Artifact 0782. I can't become the owner, but yes, I can find an opportunity to make a flaring sun charm and siphon its power. Ugh, I certainly can't do it now. I haven't prepared any necessary ingredients. Why would I, a Nighthawk of the Evernight Goddess, carry the ingredients of the sun around with me? Have I enjoyed the novel? I'm loving the novel. We had the DERRICK chapters, DERRICK backstory. I was crying. I really excited for stuff that I haven't read, like Volume 2, and also the side story in Backland with Audrey, Force, and Xiao. I'm really enjoying it. Thank you for coming to the stream, by the way. Do not look. Klein massaged his forehead regrettably. He saw that there was no other movement in the world above the grey fog and finally relaxed. He confirmed that the eternal blazing sun hadn't managed to track him down. Do not look directly at the god. Do not look directly at the high-level entity. I must remember this. Buddy, I'm gonna quote you on this when you look at another sun, by the way. When you reach that point, I'm gonna quote you on this. Why would the eternal blazing sun be extremely hostile towards the Lord of Storms and the god of knowledge and wisdom? What the hell is a white angel? Now, my theories are that, gods were ravaging in the first and second epoch, and a lot of wars and stuff like that between gods, like god wars, right? So that's why there was a lot of hate between those two, and nowadays it's more like they are in the background. The gods still exist, Klein just looked at one, even though that wasn't in real time. He still looked at one. So maybe there's gonna be an event in the future where we're literally gonna fight a god when, Klein, if he reaches sequence 1, sequence 2, who knows? As this mixed thoughts filled his brain, Klein, I'm waiting for the Church of the Fool, by the way. The Church of the Fool will go so hard. As these mixed thoughts filled his brain, Klein felt the emptiness and an aching pain in his head. Plus he felt that too much time had passed. He had to return to the outer world just in case someone discovered anything amiss. Back then he thought it would take a minute or so to divine 2 or 3 times in the mysterious space, plus there was a spirituality wall isolating him from everything else. Once he was touched, his body in the world above the grey fog will sense it, hence he felt utterly safe. He hadn't considered the possibility of having some sort of accident. In the end, he nearly lost his life, and that wasted quite a bit of time. To the fact that he was afraid that he would be greeted by a light of purification beam, who discovered that the mutated sun emblem was damaged, he enveloped his body with spirituality before he stimulated a descent with his heart in his mouth. The crimson moonlight reflected in his eyes, and there was a darkness in and within. Klein saw the sparse forest and the weeds before him, as well as the intact, sealed artifact 30782 in his hands. After a few seconds of breathless anxiety, he finally believed that he was safe. Phew! Klein let out a breath of relief. He felt exhausted after his insane probing. Probing at the border of death. Probing, when I think of probing, I think of, something else. Wow! 141, nightmare. Now, we're gonna do one more. Nightmare. By the way, a lot of cool chapters in the past, like, how many have we done? We have done, this is the 8th one? No, 7th one? This is the 7th one, yeah. DERRICK one. We had the fight with the Wraith, learning about Isaac, looking at the god. These chapters have been seriously peak, by the way. The exhausted Klein dispelled the sealed wall of spirituality, allowing the cool wind to blow onto his face. The scent of grass and trees that the wind carried revitalized him. He rubbed the warm and classic sealed artifact 30782 with his hands and sighed to himself. Who would have thought that there would be a drop of God's blood in this emblem? I have to assume that the experts from the Church of the Eternal Blazing Sun must have tried searching for this item in the past, but couldn't find. Also, complete or nearly complete giant pathway formula, a lot of lore drops. Amazing, by the way. Amazing chapters so far. Klein stretched his neck. He didn't dare to try anything else, keeping the mutilated sun sacred emblem in the inner pocket of his trench coat. His hand followed the chain and took out a silver wine leaf pocket watch. He opened it to see that there was still about an hour before Corpse Collector Fry's shift. I need 2 matches to prop up my eyelids. This is a side effect of that near-death experience. Klein didn't have any other ideas. All he could do was take out a small metal bottle from a tiny hidden pocket. He uncapped the bottle and brought it near his nose. A pungent smell, a mix of mint disinfectant, quickly entered his nose. Thank you. Thank you. A pungent smell, mix of mint and disinfectant, quickly entered his nose, giving Klein goosebumps. His senses were jolted, making him forget his fatigue temporarily. He hadn't learned the formula from Corpse Collector. Right, it was called Guilag's oil. And it could help a person ignore the stench of rotting corpses, as well as refresh and clear the mind. The next hour felt like torture. Klein paced around from time to time and was bitten by the mosquitoes in the forest several times. Finally, the black-haired blue-eyed Fry walked out of dead down wearing a trench coat and holding a cane. Even though he got that trip, by the way. Even though Fry still looked like a living corpse, Klein felt as though he was looking at his savior. He covered his mouth and let out a yawn, making his eyes teary. He made his way over and took sealed artifact 30782 from his pocket. What happened? Fry asked as he looked at his partner's pale face. Klein sighed and said, I just did my shift at China Skate the previous night and didn't sleep too well in the morning, so I'm very tired. Wow! Based, by the way. Sheesh! Based lie, again. He didn't elaborate further and changed the subject. Shall I come for my next shift 4 hours from now? 7 hours. The captain doesn't need to sleep at night. Fry took the mutilated sun, a sacred emblem. I'm glad someone enjoys staying up late. Klein ridiculed the captain under his breath. He bade goodbye to Fry and walked towards the town. By the way, it isn't really a lie, it's a half lie. Masters, you missed so many chapters. We had such big chapters. I'm so sad you missed it. What happened, dude? I mean, of course, I'm not like forcing anyone to come to the stream, but we had such big chapters. On the way, you have 2 heavy classes. Oh, no problem, dude. Good night. On the way back to the inn, he took out his pocket watch and checked the time. 10 minutes earlier than we arranged. For the nice person. Klein laughed and walked faster. He turned to the inn and opened the half-closed door. The boss watched him as he made his way to the 2nd floor before he entered his room. He removed his coat and shoes after locking the door. He didn't wash up, but instead fell directly onto the bed. His breathing became heavy, and just a few seconds then long and peaceful. In his dream, Klein returned to Earth, where he was... Oh! Klein's dreams! When he's playing a game he hadn't beaten, a cup of soda and a plate of spicy chicken wings were on his left. To his right was a bowl of rice and bitter bamboo shoots meat soup. Oh! He didn't like the bitter bamboo shoots, but he liked soup with meat slices. The refreshing taste and a little bit of fat and the meat were tantalizing, a perfect complement to the rice. He could eat an extra bowl of rice if it was paired with some good sauce dip. As this client was about to enjoy his supper and continue playing his game, his dream changed again, presenting him with the initial layout of Dew's Daffodil Street. Klein suddenly became alert, aware that he was dreaming. He saw himself seated at the side of the dining table, a copy of Dingen's Daily Tribune in his hand. In front of him was a bowl of tomato oxtail stew, pan-fried lamb chops, mashed potatoes, and wheat bread. He subsequently turned to look at the door, suddenly noticing a figure standing outside the window of the living room, silently staring inside the house. No, it's fucking acting! It's... you... I fucking told you, Klein, you're gonna regret this. Klein was shocked. He immediately recognized the grey-eyed Tan. His face was getting close to the window. I silently watched the people inside. Captain, can you not scare someone in their dreams? Is this your way of acting as a nightmare? Klein thought, finding a humor in his exasperation. He scooped up a mouthful of stew and put it in his mouth. Ah, this is my cooking, he sighed to himself. He understood why he became suddenly alert in his dream. Why the scene of him on Earth vanished. He will naturally become aware when someone barged into his dreams. Klein hinted at it. Klein did. Klein was like, wink, wink, wink. I was acting as a divination club guy. Wink, wink. That's what I think. That's why Dan is doing it. He's testing it. At this moment, Dan left his slot at the royal window and directly entered the house. In his black trench coat, he became silent before Klein. He took off his hat and nodded before sitting down. He didn't stand on ceremony. Pick up on cutlery and quickly polishing off the stew. Lamb chops, wheat bread on the table. Klein looked on dumbfounded, unsure what the captain was doing. He's acting. Phew, Dan exhaled in satisfaction and gave Klein a thumbs up. He then took out his pipe and matchstick before making an intoxicated puff. He exhaled a cloud of smoke and stood up. He then put on his hat and bowed before leaving the house and the dream. But the first time smoking, he usually always like sniffs the smoke, but this time it's like the first time like smoking actually, at least reading about it. Klein looked at the captain's back, unable to collect himself for a long time. He looked down at the empty plate and instinctively wanted to conjure up the food he had just now. But this time the oxtail stew, lamb chops, mashed potatoes didn't appear in his dreams. It was completely eaten. A nightmare can do that. Klein twitched his lips and thought in frustration. So the captain's goal was to prevent me from eating supper in my dream. That sure is a nightmare. This method of acting is a nightmare. Sure is creative. He let out a laugh and exited his dream, once again falling asleep. At about 5:30 in the morning the next day, Klein, who had no choice but to wake up early, drink his coffee and eat his toast and bacon, he hurried out of town to take over from Dan. At 7 in the morning they prepared to set off back to Dingen. It wasn't even 10 when they arrived at 36 Woodland Street. Fry sat behind the typewriter after done. That was so fun, by the way. The most energized of the lot returned sealed artifact 30782 to the back of Chinese Gate. He took advantage of the fact that the clerks hadn't arrived yet, so he could write a report on the mission and the claims of the related expenditure. What are those moans? What moans? Klein looked on from the side, satisfied that the items he had expended were within the list, including the materials he used to drive the bugs and mosquitoes away. He didn't return home immediately, for he had arranged to meet the asylum doctor, Daxter, at 1 in the afternoon, and they agreed upon venue through a coded letter. Then there's still the Tarot Club gathering at 3. Why does the boss of a secret society... Tarot Club gathering! Why does the boss of a secret society have such a dying life? Klein thought to himself. He took a 2-hour nap in the Nighthawk's break room to catch up on sleep. Let's fucking go, by the way. He didn't forget the information he had obtained the previous day. He wasn't worried that he could forget, for the information could be recalled using divination. He was afraid that he would disregard the existence of this information and even lose the ability to divine this information. Thus he recalled the pieces of information once again before he slept to reinforce them. This was also the reason Klein insisted on doing a review week every week and reorganize all the information he knew. After lunch he took a look at his pocket watch and left the Blackthorn Security Company for shooting club at 3 Woodland Street. Klein entered the reception area where after pushing open the door, but he didn't head directly to the shooting range belonging to Nighthawks. Instead, he found a seat in the hall as he waited patiently with his black cane in hand. He had arranged to meet Daxter, okay, info, yeah, at Woodland Street Shooting Club. He had arranged this through handwritten letters. Whenever a client wanted to meet him, he will try to Dr. Daxter in the place of patient's family member. I wonder if Daxter might be another Tarot Club member candidate. Maybe. He will try to Dr. Daxter in place of patient family member and ask about unique condition called dissociative identity disorder. Instead, the client would use various methods to mention the term spectator as well as hidden mark of ink and authenticate his identity. They would also casually mention a time to meet. Oh, never mind. It won't be. It won't be because one from every sequence, right? I think. As for the place to meet, they had already decided this is the first time they met. The first time they met, if Klein felt that there was a need to change the location, he would mention it when they met in person. When Daxter Guderian needed to meet for non-urgent matters, he could send a letter to the Hound Pub or the Shooting Club. The recipient would marked as Mr. Hornatzis, which Klein would take scheduled times. Mr. Hornatzis, by the way. Wow, what a name. In an urgent situation, he could hand the letter directly to the boss of the Hound Pub, Wright, and mention his search for mercenaries. This way, Wright, who was an associate with the Nighthawks, would immediately hand the letter over to Blackthorn Security Company. After waiting for a while, Klein saw the refined Daxter enter the Shooting Club a few minutes past 1. He was wearing a black hat and a fitted tuxedo. He had a cane inlaid with silver in his hands, as well as a pair of gold-framed spectacles on his face. Oh, gold-framed. Mr. H. Yep. Daxter walked around the club without attracting attention and saw Klein, who nodded slightly. He then retracted his gaze and walked the counter, expertly applying for a shooting range and renting a gun. This was not his first visit. A small shooting range, 3 solely an hour. A small shooting range, 3 solely an hour. The fee for renting a revolver is 1 solely 7 pence per hour and contains 6 rounds. That's expensive. The receptionist quickly settled the request. After Dexter confirmed that he was renting the items for an hour and then paid the fee of 10 solely, he took the revolver and extra bullets and was led to the respective shooting range by the vacillator. Should I want to go to the shooting range. Should I do like an IRL stream? Would you be interested in that? Like maybe an IRL stream like once every few weeks? Like we're gonna try different activities like shooting range, climbing, whatever. Klein waited another 5 minutes before slowly standing up. He grabbed his cane before walking to the small shooting range 7 and knocked on the door. No? Okay. Sure. Then I went to it. The door opened a tiny crack with a creak. Dexter first looked around cautiously, then opened the door fully. Klein immediately entered and locked the door. Good afternoon, Mr. Daxter, he said as he took out 10 solid bill. He handed the bill over to Daxter. He won't let the associates bear any extra fees. Because I can claim compensation, he added in his heart. Daxter didn't decline. Oh my god, sneaky Klein. He took the cash and asked heavily, Mr. Moretti, why did you ask to meet me? Okay, black shirt again. It's actually a new shirt. It's a new shirt. You got guns? I don't. I meant like rent out a shooting range. Anyway, cool episodes. Very good theories, I think. Self-placed, by the way. Good chapters with Derrick. A lot of info. I have so many notes in my thing. Can I show you? A lot of notes. How do I open my clipboard? Oh, here we go. Yeah. How do I move my clipboard? Oh my god. Anyway, I have like so many notes I'm gonna like format and write down. We're gonna come back on on Tuesday with 142. We're gonna reach 150 on Tuesday and try to get like 275 this week. And we are like 80% done by that point, right? With volume 1. And maybe in like late December we can reach volume 2. Maybe, late November we can reach volume 2, sorry. I might do like a birthday stream where I read Road of Mysteries. That's like the best birthday gift ever. Maybe by my birthday is 29th of November. We might reach volume 2 on my birthday and then read on my birthday as a gift from me for volume 2. Anyway, I'll see you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.